WTF Forum is a decentralized broadcast network with no governing body of any kind and is produced and distributed by a loosely affiliated, ever-growing network of rogue, independent content creators. This forum does not, will not, and shall not have any one location, RSS feed, platform, or channel, but shall be shared and multiplied as nature dictates.
Welcome to the WTF Forum. The hosts do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Opinions are their own. This broadcast contains foul language and dangerous ideas. If you need a trigger warning, you are in the wrong place. Now enjoy the show.
Roll up to the pool, turning heads. I don't even care if I embarrass my kids. Sunbathing, I'm a feast for the senses. Got my glasses on, transitional lenses. Dad life, no you can't get Chad life. What you know about that burger flipping dad life? Raising teens, birds and bees. It ain't a bad life, it's a dad life. Hot rods, hot dogs, working on my dad bod. Flexing on the beat in my burger flipping big dogs. Taking naps, CPAPs. It ain't a bad life, it's a dad life.
It's Dad Life 2020. If you missed the original Dad Life, go to www.youtube.com/watch. The question mark, V, the equal sign, a capital D, a capital O, a capital K, the lowercase u, the capital S, a capital Q, a capital I, a capital J, the lowercase L, lowercase O, and lowercase g. It's easy as that.
What the fuck is up, everybody? Welcome to the WTF Forum. I, as always, am Mike the Polymath. And, I thought I would bring a few things to the forum tonight, but it all seems to center around how men and dads in particular have been turned into some kind of sick joke. And with that, I will pass it to my good friend, Stella Q.
Coming from the land of dad bods. Good to be with my friends here. There's nothing wrong with a good dad bod, especially when there's a good dad attached to it, in my view. Bear.
Dope. Oh, hey guys, I'm Bear Snare. My friends Hate Freedom podcast and thebearsnare.com. And, well, I'm a man, so I'm feeling a little bit marginalized here already. What's up, Ando?
Hey, it's Ando from Burn Babylon Burn and the Doom Kitchen and mostly the what the fuckery that happens out here. Yeah, I had my Cinco de Mayo enchiladas working on my dad bod over here, but I'm also working on earning the title dad. Not right now.
Working on earning the title of husband first, right? Ideally, that's the proper order of things, I think.
Coming soon.
Hey. If we haven't already said it officially on the forum, congratulations.
Yeah,
yes.
Congratulations.
Very big.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks.
Yeah. It gives me hope. Ando. It really does.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a time not so long ago where you and I were lamenting together about women. And, I do want to be careful tonight because I'm not trying to bash women. In fact, what I'm trying to do is understand, which that's a tall fucking order. And I'm sure glad you're here, Stella, because we need some female input. But, women are hard to understand sometimes.
I'm from the female gender and I'm here to help.
And you're OG female? from the womb to the grave?
I was born naturally. I'm a natural woman, and I will die naturally.
Good. That's who we're concerned with, I think. But let me just show you exactly how confusing women can be. And this is not by any means like a cross section. These are women in Miami Beach, so keep that in mind.
For me, it's not important. So la pancetta or il six pack?
Not important.
No. In Italian there is not a lot of this. You have to take care of your body.
Yes.
But it's not the things that I look
Ci
most.
piacciono quelli con gli addominali, ma poi ci fidanziamo con quelli con la pancetta.
Oh, she said a really right thing.
Uh-huh.
You look at the guy that has the six pack, but finally you get in love with the belly.
Do you prefer a dad bod or a six pack?
Six pack.
Six pack? Okay. Dad bod or six pack?
Six pack.
Six pack?
Yeah.
Okay. Dad bod or six pack?
Dad bod.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, tell me why. That's so funny.
I honestly don't know. I just
Are
feel like it's
six-packs
more.
Sometimes I feel that six packs intimidate girls a little bit. Like you expect me to be in really good shape if you have a six pack or something like that.
I guess it would also
Yeah.
depend. Like if you have a six pack because you do like a sport, I would
Yeah.
be like really into that because
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that's because like you do something that interests, like you're doing something else, not just the
Right.
gym all the time, because it
Yes.
just gives me a different vibe. from
Okay.
somebody. I
So you're
don't
not into like super gym rat type of guys who are like drinking the protein shakes, eating the chicken and rice 24/7. All right. Does height matter?
Why do you work out? For some people, it's simply to just be healthier. Others train just to get stronger, and many people do it purely for their mental health. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of different reasons on why people go to the gym. However, without a doubt, the most common reason on why people work out is to look good. The reason why most people want to look good from going to the gym is most of the time to impress girls. But the question is, what body type do girls actually prefer? Well, me and my friend Nathaniel Messiah wanted to test this out by going into the public, going into the gyms and asking girls themselves. How this was going to work is we'd show girls a photo of 4 different male body types. Number 1 being a kind of dad bod. Number 2 being a muscular bodybuilder bod, which was actually Nathaniel. Number 3 being an athletic, kind of in the middle body, which this one was me. And then number 4 being a more skinny, doesn't look like he's ever worked out body. The girls have to choose which body type they like the most and why. And then at the end of the day, we'll count up all the votes and come to our final conclusion. Boys, before we go out, what are the predictions?
I think he'll get the most votes.
Yeah, because
He's the middle point. Like he's not
Yeah.
too extreme. Like he's in the middle.
yeah, I feel like it could go either way, you know, and I feel like the dad bod could get a lot of votes.
I am confident here that the dad bod is going to get the most votes.
Really?
I'm confident.
Really?
What do y'all think? What do you think?
It's going to be the one in between, I think.
I think it
Because,
depends who you ask.
You know, the model guy, it looks too serious, and then that I think it's going to be the in between guy.
Yeah, it's got to be like one of the athletic ones, not the complete skinny one without muscles at all.
They call that skinny fat.
I mean, the dad bod didn't look like the dad bod wasn't fat, right? So he was okay looking in this particular picture. But also, yeah, the athletic one, that would be my guess.
Well, I want to say real quick, this sounds superficial on the surface, but I think there's a lot to be gleaned here. Like I said, I think dads and men in many ways have been made the butt of a lot of jokes. We talk about dad bods. We talk about dad jokes, which are notoriously bad jokes, right? And I think there's like a psyop going on here, right? Like why do so many women seem to prefer the dad bod, so to speak, but when you actually ask them, maybe that's not so much the truth. I don't know. Stella, any input?
I think there's a lot of variables because it's really going to depend on who you ask. Like you may have noticed that most of the girls who picked the six pack were all probably in their young 20s. So that sort of stuff really matters because, boy, you go through some shifts in your decades in your life, that's for sure. I mean, the stuff that mattered to me in my 20s certainly as hell doesn't matter now, you know. So, yeah, I think it's going to be dependent on who you ask, obviously their experiences. I agree with you, though. I think there's definitely a psyop against the white male. I mean, that's blatantly obvious.
Hey,
So, yeah, it's just
you said white. I didn't say white.
that's a good point. That's a
just-
really good point.
I'm
But there
just,
is
yeah.
no, there is. There's a psyop against males, just against the family unit, against security, against the male protectiveness. You know, I mean, they're all trying to get them to chop their dicks off. You know, turn them into women with GMOs. Well, you know, soy and all that stuff. So again, I think it's going to depend on who you ask and what their experiences are. I think the young ones that pick the dad bod are probably because they, you know, sort of think, oh, I really love my dad, or he's a nice cuddly looking guy, or he looks safe and secure. To be really honest, the real worked out guy, and I know a few of them, the really chiseled guy, 9 times out of 10 has an ego that's bigger than his dumbbells. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Well,
a pretty hard one to keep up with.
That's a theme that comes up for sure. Like the narcissistic nature of the gym rat. At least that's how people perceive these guys that are super fucking buff, and you know, it's like, oh, you don't care about anything or anyone except your physique, which I don't know if that's necessarily a fair assessment, right? I've got nothing against the dad bod just as much as I've got nothing against the bodybuilder. You know, if anything, the bodybuilder is exhibiting a level of, I don't know, discipline, right? Which you would think would be an attractive trait, but like there is this kind of back and forth of narcissism versus, you know, like the one girl said, she goes, well, if you have a six pack because you play a sport, maybe that's one thing. If it's just because you want to look good, that's another thing, right?
It's amazing how many things always come down to attitude. Because, yeah, I've spoken to a few people who are kind of, you know, would probably fall into the gym junkie thing, but they're not like the super chisel. And the difference is that they're there for their fitness and their strength and part of their lifestyle of what they do. Then you've got the other guy who's there purely just for bodybuilding. They're probably really unfit, but they look like they're not. So they work really hard on their looks and their abs and whatever, but they don't really work on their fitness. I know plenty of them. Well,
Yeah.
I used to, at least.
So I actually had a guy help me on a project yesterday, and it's a guy I had never met. My client wanted a project done. She has a guy, he's actually her yoga instructor, but he does gardening work for her. You know, him and I have been co-gardening in this space without ever meeting one another for like 2 or 3 years. And so finally we had a project where it's like, you know, we need some extra muscle. Let's coordinate. We'll get Joey and me to work in the space together because we got big rocks that need moved, right? Heavy work. And he shows up and as expected, he's kind of a lean guy, right? He's a yoga guy. He's not a bodybuilder, but I wouldn't frankly want a bodybuilder. A bodybuilder is likely to overwork and hurt himself on my job site. And my main concern is to not have any injuries, right? We're going to go slow. We're going to make sure we don't hurt ourselves. So this guy shows up. He's roughly my size, but I can tell he's strong. And sure as shit, he had what I call functional fitness, right? There's the fucking fitness just to have big arms and big shoulders and big pecs and ripped abs. And then there's functional fitness where you can actually do real work without hurting yourself or getting exhausted, right? And I was grateful this guy, he had it. He had the functional fitness. And again, you know, I'm like, this feels superficial at the surface, but it's not. Like, this matters. What are women attracted to in terms of a physique? There's something there. and they have their reasons. And I'm not saying all the reasons are invalid by any means. There's too much, and then there's not enough, and there's somewhere in between. And this weird kind of obsession with the dad bod that's come up in the last like 10 years. I think it's just a recognition of like that happy medium, if you will. I don't know. I've been talking. Somebody else take over.
I don't know. To me, I think the dad bod is sort of suggests that, you know, they're past all that phase of trying so hard. They're probably married,
Giving
got
a
a couple
shit,
of kids, you know, they've got the pickup truck, they got their 9-to-5 job or whatever, or their trade. They're kind of, you know, they've got their beer sitting on their belly and they're kind of happy in life. They're content, I think. That's sort of what dad bod suggests to me. But I think also just in looking, like if you're talking about just physique, that's a completely different thing to saying, do you like this guy because of his body? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not encompassing any sort of holistic view at all. It's just a physique. And it's like, I mean, I can look at women and think, wow, she looks amazing. But, you know, I'm not attracted to a woman. So it's the same. It's just like a statue. You can look at a statue and go, wow, that's just been chiseled so beautifully. So I think it's the same thing. But I think when we look at something, we subconsciously see a lot more than what we see. Obviously, when you see a really chiseled guy, it speaks not only that, yeah, he is probably got some discipline, but his focus is very much focused on something that might be a little bit sublime to, you know, sort of unimportant, you know. So that sort of says a lot, even though you might not even be aware of it. Yeah.
You know, I think there's a lot to this, and trust me, if you're out there in the what the fuck audience saying this isn't all that what the fuck, trust me, we're going to get weirder and weirder as we go. Because again, women are a hard nut to crack, at least for men. But let me just give you some more of this.
Some of you need your nuts cracked.
Yeah, well,
Hey now.
you're probably not wrong, but you know, you're gonna see what feminism has done, and the irrational hatred of men. Like the final result of that's where we're gonna get a little bit weird. But we're only warming up to that. So yeah, here you go, a little more, and we'll talk.
Muscle is like too much.
Like, I feel like that is
You feel like guys on steroids.
Yeah, and he looks like the sort of boy who would like spend his whole life at the gym.
He has no personality
other than gym.
No personality. Do you know what? Yeah, I think I'm gonna go home and lose some muscle on purpose, bro. Because so far I've been called an F boy. I said, no personality. No personality. It's not going well, lad.
So introduce your names.
I'm Manuela Dion. I'm gonna go for 3.
3.
Because it's not too muscly, but then it's not too like.
Not too skinny.
Yeah. I'd go for 3 as well for the same reason.
As the night went on, we found a reoccurring answer.
Number 3.
Number 3.
No,
100% 3.
All right, 3. I'll go for 3.
I think I'm gonna go for 3 as well. Yeah, 3. I'm gonna have to say 3.
Number 3. Number 3. Number 3.
Too many people are picking physique number 3, so I feel like we need to change up the photos because there could be other variables on why they're picking the photo.
Could be the body hair, could be a lot of different factors.
So we're going to have the same 4 types of bodies, but with just different photos.
At this point, the dad bod had 1 vote in total. Bodybuilder had 2 votes in total. The athletic bod had 28 votes in total, and the skinny bod had 0 votes in total. So we changed the photos up.
Oh.
This was the before dad bod, and this was the new one. The bodybuilder bod we changed from this to this, the athletic bod from this to this, and the skinny bod from this to this.
So first of all, can I get your name, please?
Emily.
I feel like either the middle 2, but not because of aesthetic reasons, but mainly motivation and athletic ability. That's attractive. So like if you like put time and commitment into your body, that's fit.
You had to choose between those.
No, but say if I went on a date with these 2 guys and that guy made me laugh and that didn't, I'd rather shag the guy who made me laugh.
Cool. They both made you laugh. Well, no, they both made you laugh.
Well, then,
made you laugh. They have the exact same
more him because I'm sporty and he'd be sporty. So
Yeah, I'm Neve. Hannah. Eleanor.
4.
4.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just like a bit of lank, skinny and lanky. That's literally all it takes.
I'd like to say in between 3 and 4.
Yeah, that would be preferable.
A bit of muscle, but like not a gym lad. Like
If you really had to pick one, which would you say?
I'd say 4. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say 4. 3 looks like it's too much maintenance.
While the answers were definitely starting to vary a bit with the new photos, the majority of people still said number 3, the athletic body.
Probably 3. So I'd probably go for that one.
Number 3.
Yeah. Probably 3.
Number 3.
Yeah.
So by the end of the night, in 4th place, only getting 1 vote was number 1, the dad bod. In 3rd place, only getting 3 votes was the bodybuilder physique. Then in 2nd place, getting 4 votes was the skinny bod. And the winner by an absolute mile was number 3, the athletic bod, getting a total of 32 votes.
Okay, there's your results. Again, not a perfect poll by any means, but interesting. Again, this whole dad bod psyop, it's been in the ether for quite a while. Am I mistaken? I mean, we've all heard about dad bod.
It's been going on for a while.
I was hoping that OG dad bod might join us tonight.
I can't help but just like critiquing myself as I'm watching these. I'm like, all right, where do I fit in here? You know?
Well, and honestly, I think what actually you can glean from that video is it fully depends. You know, most women say, well, physique is second to personality and, you know, blah, 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 which I believe. You know, I've seen that. Like, women prefer someone that can make them laugh and make them feel comfortable. And actually, I think that might be the dad bod appeal, is it's like, oh, that's a cuddly, comfortable type of guy.
Yeah, I think maybe a lot of this stems back to very primitive instincts. I mean, I think that's a fairly obvious statement, really. Obviously, we want someone who can run fast, who can hunt, who can, is strong enough to look after things, but not so focused on the wrong things. So that's no surprise at all that in-between dude got all the votes. And I seem to remember there was a UK show. I can't remember what it was called, but it was men doing this to women. There's no way it would be shown now, I suppose, but it was men. It was something like Snog or Flog or something like that. I can't remember what it was called, but so it's a very similar thing. But now it's like the tables have completely turned, and it's the men who are copying it, because it was women. I'm going back, probably 15 years that I remember that show. So it's interesting how
I'll say I also thought of like what kind of woman. Like, I know it's a totally different perspective coming from male to female than from female to male. You know, we're attracted to different things. But I've definitely had times when I like danced or cuddled or whatever with girls who were very athletic and fit, and like they had this hard muscular physique that wasn't feminine to me. Like I like to have those feminine curves and that like cushy snuggly feel, you know? So like that's a little bit of perspective from that point of view.
Can you imagine if I mean, it maybe has been done, but a woman or a pair of women going around with pictures of women, different body types, and saying, which do you prefer? I mean, how offensive would that be? Right? When we do it for men, it's like, haha, it's a funny thing. But like if you were to do this for women, it would be highly offensive. I would imagine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's sort of been there, and the narrative has swapped now. So it's like it was acceptable a while ago to do that.
I think a lot of things have swapped. And
absolutely. Yeah, the narrative is just being steered like a ship. It always is. Just the rudder turns as it's appropriate for wherever the destination is at the time. It's always the same destination. It's just steering a different route depending on the social climate. That's why they all have 4 scenarios in all these think tank simulation things, you know. There's usually 4 scenarios because they got to cover everything.
Well, Ando is currently changing his laundry. So while we wait for him to come back, let me play you a short one. And then I've got another song, which, believe it or not, I think the song actually makes some really valid points, even if subtly. So give me a few minutes here and we'll come back.
fat are perceived to be better fathers. This is compared with the guy that's in good shape. And you think, hang on a second, how is the guy that isn't able to protect his family because he's less physically formidable going to be perceived as a better father? And the reason is that the guy who has more gut fat is seen to be less potentially attractive to other mates, which means that if he is given 1 calorie, there is less likelihood of him spending that calorie on trying to acquire a new mate because more doors have been closed to him than the guy that is in good shape and may potentially have more doors open to him. I think that being less uncertain about your partner straying contributes massively to a woman who might have anxious attachment, or maybe there's a disparity in mate value there, that she is going to feel a lot more comfortable with that. But the wild thing when you think about this is that comfort contributes quite a lot to woman's arousal. And there is a situation in which someone who was less in good shape would be more arousing and more attractive to a woman because her degree of comfort would be increased. Men who have
This shirt don't fit like it used to, and I need another notch on my belt. If you're looking for a six-pack, muscled up kind of man, better look somewhere else. Yeah, I can stand to lose a few pounds, but for right now, I'm working on my dad bod. Oh my God, ain't gotta be hungry to eat. Hot dog, it's a full-time job, living good when you're with me. I like a cold beer with my pizza. I like my tacos and tequila. You only live once, so I do what I want, and I want to keep working hard on my dad bod.
You know, that line about tacos and tequila reminded me to say Happy Cinco de Mayo, y'all.
Happy Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, like I said in the group chat, I was debating between Cinco de Fatso or Cinco de Barro. And you'll see why the bear is going to come into the mix here in a little while. But yeah, and I'm not, I chose to go with Cinco de Barro because a dad bod is not a fatso. We all know what fatsos look like. I mean, there's a big difference, between slightly overweight, quote unquote, and morbidly obese.
I think it's sort of, a little bit overweight and just out of shape generally, physically. But I mean, like, I'm missing Ashley. I'm missing you more today than ever, by the way, my dear Ashley.
Yeah. You could use a little backup here, couldn't you?
It would have been nice, yeah.
Yeah.
I would want to confirm, though, it is very true, at least from most women's perspective that I deal with. We definitely look at the eyes first. It is the eyes. I mean, I think that might be a male thing as well, perhaps. It's sort of eyes and then down. But whatever.
I would say
it's
it's
a thing with the yeah.
I think it's inverted. I think women,
right,
eyes first, everything else. Men, I can only speak for myself, but it's hard not to notice the tits and ass.
Yeah. Especially when they're in your face, which is what I mean. I was looking at the way some of those girls were dressed. It's like, oh my God, I mean, I'm not really a prude, and I've worn some pretty silly outfits in my past, but that's just a little step beyond, it's no
women,
wonder. And then they're probably the ones that complain about the blokes looking at their tits all the time. So it's like, well, cover up a bit then, woman.
And literally the shorts have come up to where the ass hangs out the bottom.
So gross.
How you don't look at that, I don't know. But for me, it's like, okay, tits, ass, nice, whatever. But if you don't have a pretty face and I can't look you in the eyes and make contact, there's a wall there that has to be, overcome.
Yeah, I would say the face is most important.
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, I'm not like, I don't know, I don't have a particular thing about the female form that I love it all. It's not like I'm a toots guy or I'm an ass guy or whatever. But yeah, the eyes and face definitely matter for sure.
Again, we're not trying to be superficial here, but
we are being superficial.
But actually, come on, we are emotional, sexual, social creatures, and it's worth actually having these kind of discussions. And again, we're going to take it into the weird realm, but I can see it, and I've heard it. There's a whole lot of hatred. The feminism movement has bred a lot of hatred towards, quote unquote, the men. with no distinction. No distinction, between good and bad, ugly and handsome.
There's some distinction between colors of men.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah.
See, I'm not really faced with this. I see this as nothing particularly new. I see this as something that really sort of started in the 60s with the pill. That was sort of the seed, I think, of the genders fighting each other. The feminism movement sort of started. That was very anti-man. So I don't really see this as anything particularly new. Maybe it's just a regurgitated. I mean, as we know, everything's on a cycle. I think it's just regurgitated with some, a new regurgitation of male hatred with lipstick. I don't know.
Have you guys heard about this man? If you would rather be stuck in the wilderness with a man or a bear, this has gone kind of viral just in the last couple weeks.
It's good to see all the really important issues are being dealt with. Fucking yeah, spot on.
Well, I got onto Twitter like a week ago and I just saw all these memes about like men are more dangerous than bears. And I didn't know what any of it was about. I had to kind of dive in, but apparently this is a question being asked. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
They specifically call out white men.
A lot of them.
Like they're yeah. That's the funny part.
Well, that's just part of the narrative.
If you look at the statistics as far as rape and domestic violence and all the rest, white men are pretty pristine comparatively.
Well, are they? I mean, are they statistics that we can believe? When did those statistics come out? Is that something recent that you heard, or is this from decades ago? Because that's going to depend on what the narrative is, what the statistics say. I don't like this whole putting everyone in one basket thing. I think that's really wrong.
Well, you could change the demographic a little bit and say cops, and they have a very bad record, regardless of what race they are.
I mean, you probably saw that thing where that cop recently got assaulted by cops. $23 million payout or something ridiculous. But it's just depends on the situations. And the
Stella,
people.
can I ask you, just if I had a gun to your head and said, would you rather spend a weekend in the wilderness with a human man or a wild bear? What would you say?
I would say, just for asking me that question, shoot me now.
Okay. Well, you've already proved that you're more of an independent thinker than these women here. So just this blew my mind.
Would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear?
The bear. Bear.
So would you rather be stuck in the forest with a man or a bear? It seems like a ton of women are saying they'd rather be with a bear. Let's unpack that.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Before we get into today's video, big shout out to all my patrons on Patreon who are fueling the work that I do on this channel. I cannot thank you enough for being such supporters of this content that you choose to sign up on Patreon. You know, in this world of censorship, we could go down at any moment, so I appreciate each and every one of you. Now, let's have you answer the question, would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear? It seems like the modern day feminist answer is that they'd rather be stuck in the forest with a bear. And of course, we're going to play around with these scenarios and hypotheticals, but first, let's watch the video of these women giving their explanation as to why they'd rather be stuck in the forest with a bear as opposed to a man.
Would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear?
Bear. Man is scary. With a bear.
What I've heard about bears, they don't always attack you, right? Unless you like with them. So maybe a bear.
Depends what man, but probably a bear.
100% a bear, which is like terrifying to say, but
definitely a bear. Some men are very scary out there.
A bear.
I would say a man. So we had one woman at the end there say that she would rather be in the forest with a man, but the vast majority of them stated that they would rather be in the forest with a bear, which I'll be honest is pretty wild to me. Of course, there are some problems with the question. I don't know what type of bear. I don't know what type of man. There are a ton of different types of bears. There's a ton of different types of men. I will say 10 toes down on this answer. I would rather be in the forest with a man, and I will explain why. Now we're going to have to do some analysis on this question. So I've got to get the old glasses out. Let's get into it. All right, guys, we must analyze this question. Man or bear? First of all, odds are in your favor that a man is probably not going to attack you whilst in the forest with you. I'd say it's more likely he doesn't attack you than he does attack you. Now, I do believe the same can actually be said for a bear. Of course, this depends on the variety of bear, but a lot of people head into the forest on any given day and they are not attacked by bears. So we have that going for us as well. One major point that's being missed here is I'd rather be stuck in the forest with another human being who can help us get out of this situation, and preferably a man, rather than being stuck in the forest alone with a bear. Now,
Okay, I think that was a very well put statement. She goes, especially, she says, I'd rather be with another human being, especially a man. She did not expand on that. But
Seems
if
the
you were,
implication was if there was a bear and a man, the man would be your ally, helping you get out of it.
I feel like the implication was actually, if the question was different, would you rather be stuck in the forest with a man or a woman? And the way she said, if I had to be in the woods, I'd rather be with a human, especially a man. That's what she said. I'm thinking if you're stuck in the forest, maybe a man isn't the worst fucking thing to have.
Well, nobody's asked the bear. And, you know, I don't think the bear would want to get stuck in the forest with a freaking woman. So, you know.
Oh, okay. Be careful what questions, Stella, be careful what questions you ask, because you might not like the answers.
Hey, I'm tough. I can take it.
We're gonna get to what happens when a woman and a bear end up in the woods.
Uh-huh. I know what a pope does in the woods.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts before I carry on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one girl who was saying, yeah, I'd like to get stuck in the woods with a bear while she's wearing a fur hat. My heart went out to the bear.
Oh my God. Yeah, you'd be eaten in seconds, woman. What are you thinking? A bear can crush your skull with its
I was worried
jaws.
about the bear. She was wearing a fur hat.
Oh God. You might have me jump ahead here, because trust me,
Okay.
this shit gets weird. Let me play you just another minute or so of this if we don't have any.
I think it's really cute that this girl thinks that censorship might affect her.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to get rid of any of your superficial shit, darling.
No, she's not really towing the line. Anyways, let's carry on a bit, and we'll come back.
thinking about this, I think the reason that many women are choosing bear is that they are assuming that the man is going to be aggressive and they'd rather face the aggression of a bear than face the aggression of a man. So let's get into that a little bit. The average weight of an American male is around 200 pounds. The average weight of, say, an aggressive bear, like a brown bear, is about 400 to 1,200 pounds. Which one of those weights do you want to deal with, baby girl? Now let's imagine in this scenario we are running through the forest, as that would presumably be happening if somebody is trying to attack you. A bear can run 25 miles per hour. I don't know how much a human male can run on average. The numbers are all over the place, but it is less than 25 miles per hour. Now let's assume whatever's chasing you catches you. Do you want to take your chance with an aggressive bear or with a man? Immediately I'm thinking, I can eye gouge a man. I can try to punch him in the throat. I can try to break his nose. I can try to even kick him in the nuts. Can I do that with a bear? Real question. I don't think so. Now mind you, both of these situations are horrible, heinous, egregious, if you will. But I would rather take my chances with an aggressive adult male and have a chance of getting out than take my chances with an aggressive bear and have no chance at all. Okay.
So, do you ever buy a book because its reputation precedes it to the point where, just out of sheer prurient interest, you have to read it? You just have to know what's in there. Well, this time I effed around and found out, and I read Bear by Marion Engel. See that hand? How it looks kind of suggestive and all that luxuriant bear fur? Yeah, that's on purpose. So, Bear is a book that I just had to know about because, on the one hand, it's considered a great Canadian novel. It won basically the Canadian equivalent of like a National Book Award. It's considered a great piece of literature. It is also about a woman who has a sexual relationship with a literal bear. So,
Oh, no.
if that is too much for you,
Oh, no.
trigger warning, run away now. I'm not going to get into too many details because I like to keep my channel relatively safe for work, but this
Bare
is the
essentials will
least
do.
safe for work sort of book I'm going to be covering anytime soon. So the thing that's interesting about Bear is that everybody wants to talk about Bear for like the more lurid scenes. And what's really funny is like the original cover of this book way played that up. I'm going to put it right here for you because wow, that is a book cover. Honestly, if I found that at a used bookstore, I'd buy it just for sheer prurience. Yes, I am that person. But I am going to just say outright that while that part of Bear is a little bit eyebrow raising, the fact is that this really is an excellent work of literature. It's well written, and I am glad that I read it. So, Bear is about a librarian named Lou who has kind of lost sight of herself in her life. She has become a librarian, but she's using this to hide from her life. She's not very social. She is sort of frumpy. She's in this very limited, contained world. She's working in a basement that's super dusty. And like, there are times when she likes that and it makes her feel safe. And then there are other times when it makes her feel like maybe her life is passing her by and she's sad about it. All of this changes when a large estate is left to her library in someone's will, and somebody has to go out there and catalog all the books. So Lou goes out into the wilds of Canada. She checks out this bizarrely luxurious house that's in the middle of nowhere, which is kind of cool. She begins to catalog the library, and she encounters a pet bear that lives in the backyard. Not a whole lot is said about why a bear is kept on this estate, but it is clear from the notes of a colonel who previously lived at this estate that there's a bit of a bear obsession going on. So she ends up cataloging all these papers that fall out of books about bears. So this is about obsession with a bear, both on Lou's part and on the part of people who lived there before her. And it just really makes me wonder.
Makes me wonder too. I know I'm kind of throwing some weird shit out there here, y'all, but I cannot help but see a connection between this viral fad of man or bear asked towards women, many of them saying bear, and then also the dad bod thing. I mean, what can, if I can use the word loosely, personify a dad bod better than a bear?
Do you think they're just pushing us toward obesity?
I don't know.
I think it's probably multifaceted, like it usually is. This just grosses me out. But I'm glad that you're bringing this in the sense of like I'm thinking, oh God, Mike, really? But I can see now why you're sort of bringing it. So yeah, it's definitely steering this decrepit ship for sure. But also there's this bestiality push at the moment as well, which we
Right.
have seen, which is just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I can't even find words for that, but they are definitely pushing it. She speaks about it like it's just nothing, which is also the narrative to get people used to it. There's this whole, I can never remember how to say it. The chimera.
Chimera.
Yeah, chimera.
Yeah.
The chimera thing. That's sort of, it's all about suggesting, bringing it into our psyche, normalizing it, desensitizing us if there's anything left in us. Yeah, blech. From me. Ugh.
It's weird because like in my mind bestiality is nothing new, but with a bear that is pretty new. Like I've never heard that one before.
Normalizing it is new.
That is very strange.
Well,
I can't actually say that. There might be cultures where it was normal. I don't know. I'm not a historian, but
also,
I don't know. I don't know.
This book was written in, I think it was 1979, so it's not exactly new. And
no, but that's the narrative is not new either. Okay, so we've got to remember, like the 70s was quite key in bringing the narrative out into the open, basically, as Uncle Rob, shout out crazy Uncle Rob, would agree that 1972, 73 is very key to major changes all over the world, actually. So
bestiality comes up in the Bible plenty of times, and it's always around the death of the civilization.
Exactly.
It's
communist playbook.
Certainly part of the society when Revelations happens, and when God strikes the city full of sin, all that stuff.
Ando, anything?
It's just gross. I mean,
yeah, it is gross, but I think it's worth diving into.
Fur fags a couple weeks ago, and and I feel like that's some sort of gateway into this whole animal thing and all that. I think that's like where it starts. It starts with like the anime and the grossness, and okay.
I think it might start with hatred of men. Okay,
really?
I mean, like, in a way, from the female perspective. If we're fantasizing about having sex with a bear,
yeah, you've seen that girl that was banging a dog. There's been a few of them over the last couple of years. They wash up on Twitter, and there's a whole big thing all day about it, and it is really gross and demoralizing. And yeah, it probably is something to do with because a lot of times the women they're not gross looking women, and they don't look like the woman talking about this book here. They look better than her.
She's gross. I hate her. I don't hate her. I just hope that God blesses her with salvation.
Yeah. But yeah, and it is kind of weird. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe that is why they are banging critters, just because they believe all this feminist bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, how brainwashed are people becoming? It's just eased into it, bit by bit. Us as older people with critical thinking can see it very clearly. But these younger people, it's just like we can't understand how this kind of thing could possibly be normalized. Whereas they, oh my God, they might not be able to understand how it cannot be normalized, which is freaky.
I am going after this. I'm only going to play another maybe minute or so of this, but I will show you, Stella, just how brainwashed young ladies, at least some, not all, but some.
Yeah, the ones that we see are presented with.
Yeah, but it's alarming. So yeah, I'm not trying to like rub in the bestiality thing, but like this bear fantasy, it's worth I'm sorry guys. Yeah, I told you it was gonna get weird. Okay.
Yeah, look, if we could just stick with the bear essentials, that'd be fine.
Ha! Well, at least we got Bear Snare in the house, so he will he'll snag him if he needs to.
Yeah.
Anyway, even before things get crazy with the bear, Lou really enjoys her time alone on this estate, which I really understand because I also am an introvert and I love to be by myself. So she's just out in the wilds, being alone, checking out these books, taking time to read, and she is probably happier than she's ever been. There are a couple of people that she knows locally who have helped her get to this house, but for the most part, she's getting to enjoy her days in solitude with occasional river trips down to a general store. So there's a man named Homer who's basically helping her out along with his son, and I'll bring him up more in a moment. So what's really interesting is that this is definitely not a sexy bear story. In no way is this bear truly presented as something that is hot or attractive. This is not a Beauty and the Beast thing or a Morning Glory milking farm sort of thing. This is really about a woman projecting her desires onto an animal. And even from the very first scene, it's quite clear that this bear is not special in the way that you would be looking for if you wanted a book that was just about like hot bestiality or something. That's not what we're going for here. So here's like our first big visual of the bear. The bear stood in the open on all fours and stared at her, moving its head up, down, and sideways to get a full view of her. Its nose was more pointed than she had expected. Years of corruption by teddy bears, she supposed, and its eyes were genuinely piggish and ugly. She crossed the yard and pumped it a pail of water. She set the pail down quite near it, nearer than she thought she ought to have dared, but the bear looked so passive she could not genuinely fear it. In the stable doorway, it had looked smaller. Now she could see that it was what Homer would call a good size, up to her hip and long with it, a full-grown bear with a scruff like a widow's hump. As it turned to drink, she got a large whiff of shit and musk. It was indubitably male, she saw, and its hindquarters were matted with dirt. After it drank thirstily, it curled up again by the barn door. It looked stupid and defeated. She hunkered where it could not reach her and stared at it. Its nose was like a dog's, but broader. Its snout was narrow. Its eyes were close together. It was not a handsome beast, and it would not be if it always lived at the end of that chain. So basically, her relationship with this bear starts as kind of like a pitying relationship where she actually does get bold enough to take it for walks on its chain. She lets it swim in the water. She ends up swimming with the bear, and it kind of just seems like a sweet animal story for the most part, with just a sign that something might be weird, where as she jumps out of the water, the bear like licks water off of her back, and she notes that that feels interesting. And that's it. Until it turns out that one night when she leaves the bear off the chain, it actually comes into house and like knows its way around. So she ends up kind of hanging out and reading with this bear by the fire. And she gets really hot and bothered one night. She decides to make love to herself. And the bear, which likes to just sort of lick fluids off of skin anyway, clearly, just kind of like licks the salt off of her skin. And she guides the bear to where it's licking something else. And she finds that very enjoyable. So her relationship with this bear is mostly about the bear getting her off. In fact, it's very persistent throughout the book that the bear is not very sexually interested in her. The bear only kind of gets it up one time, and it's like the climactic messed up scene of the book, which I won't spoil entirely for you.
Okay, guys, I know this is super, super gross.
Thanks for not spoiling it for us, love.
Right. But what I found interesting there was the mention of the fact that the bear was pitiable and that it was not a very, I don't know, imposing or threatening creature. It was portrayed as being very subdued. And again, I almost want to draw a connection to the supposed desire for quote unquote dad bods, but it gets you know, the dad bod thing started like 10 years ago, and it's gone into something completely different, in my opinion. I hate to say it this way, and Stella, feel free to disagree, but I think the female psyche has been, this goes for men too, but the female psyche has been manipulated heavily. And they've gone from wanting dad bods to wanting femboys. This is my assertion. Because what they're being conditioned to desire is something completely unthreatening.
I disagree. I think that's maybe what the people that are pushing shit on us all the time, you know, those people might be trying to push for, but I don't think women are going for that at all.
Yeah, not all.
I can't see that.
No, I think that might be the perception. Yeah, I think you're right, Ando. That's the perception, the projection of what is in our vision, because we spend time on the internet and stuff. Yeah,
the social engineers. Yeah,
yes,
that's what they're trying to, because it makes more men go trans.
Yeah, I don't
will
buy this
say-
for a second.
I will say though, I think there is truth to it. I do. From what
I think a
perceived-
lot of these trannies are incels, though. Like most of the trannies don't get anything except for maybe other trannies because they're all like just that broken, and it's the only person that they have anything in common with.
That could
like
very well
I don't. I can't. I know a couple of women that have been into that, but I don't know many. Most women are disgusted by that.
I have to say, my take on like this book is it's an entirely fictional book, and the whole thing takes place in Fantasyland. It's some desperate woman who's just probably an incel, writing
Yeah.
this book,
100%.
and having her own fantasies about what might take place. But this is not how it would actually go down with a fucking bear.
Yeah, watch the language. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Are we on
No, I
what
meant-
the fuck for?
No, I meant
what forum are we on? Yeah.
I was referring to the bear going down. It's okay. It was just a dumb pun.
Well, I thought
All right,
you were
look-
talking. I thought you were talking about.
Now
how
it
he
makes
said-
more sense.
No, I didn't even hear the F word.
He did say "fucking bear," which could be taken one of two ways. So.
True. Well, I just can't wait for the sequel, Bambi in Bondage. It's going to be great.
Oh my god,
dude!
Oh, brutal.
And hashtag leave the teddy bears alone.
Yeah.
Bitch.
Yeah.
So yeah, if y'all think that's dirty, you should read Hey Duke 2029.
Yeah, dude.
I don't
Yep,
remember
I'm
any
still in chapter
bestiality
2.
in there.
Hey,
Not quite.
Ando, I'm making you a promise. I will get more. I will get more chapters out this week. I
Thanks. Yeah, and then he slid into her. And,
how else would you say it? How else would you
and
say it?
afterwards, their fluids were glistening in the light.
I don't think I used the word fluids.
There may be some beavers involved, but they ain't got that kind of fur. All right.
Yeah. Well, let's change the subject if we may.
I think the femboys also, just before we do, when you were
Yeah.
talking about the femboys,
Yeah.
as soon as that word came up, you know what came into my mind? And you mentioned it before, the manga stuff. Because, like, this is what they do. They visually train children from babies. I mean, some babies are stuck in front of the screens. I know I did it myself a few times here and there, when you've really got to do stuff. But some babies are constantly stuck in front of the screens. They're just, their whole learning is being molded by these visuals. So the manga, I suppose there are a few sort of muscly type manga characters here and there, I guess. They're usually bad though, aren't they? And then you've got the, the slim, I don't know. I'm thinking right back to like Marine Boy. Does anyone remember Marine Boy? Aquaman? Oh, God.
Aquaman. I know Aquaman.
Yeah, okay.
Well, so when I was
He wasn't really manga though.
When I was a teenager, the term was metrosexual.
Yes. Yep.
Meaning you were straight, but you were kind of in touch with your feminine side. You were fashionable. You were hip. You were sensitive. That was what supposedly women wanted, right? I think part of my
sensitive
issue,
male.
Say again?
The sensitive male.
Sensitive male. Yeah. I feel like part of my issue here is what, you guys have already said it. Like what we're told is not the truth necessarily. It might be, for some women, but not for all. But this is an example of a fully brainwashed Gen Z or millennial. I'm not sure, but she is attracted to gay men.
What do women want? And what do men think that women want? And more specifically, how does media and movies and TV shows play a huge role in this? And did men kind of just do this to themselves? And these are tricky questions because of how skewed the perception is of like what women actually want, And in this case, we're talking about women who like men. When I found out what the male gaze is, I started noticing it all around me. Like I could not get my mind off of it. I became so hyper aware of what the male gaze was and how I was actually performing for the male gaze without even realizing it. On my channel, I'm pretty open about being fearful of men, hating the occasional man. You know what I mean? I don't dress for a man. I don't look a certain way for a man. I don't act a certain way for a man. But like internally, subconsciously, I am, because it's been rooted in most women. The male gaze in media is an illustration of the desires and ideals of men. Even when women are alone, they still feel like they are performing for men. I'll give you an example. I remember one time I was eating in my car. I was like eating my sandwich all like very daintily. And the way that I was eating and sitting in my car and listening to music was still like in a dainty, pretty way. And I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, why am I even doing this? You know, I felt like I couldn't relax. And when I asked like my boyfriend about this or other guy friends that I have, like, do you ever feel like you're being watched by a man at all times and like you need to act a certain way? And their answers are no. Ever since I realized that I subconsciously may be performing for a man, especially now as a woman who lives at my own place, I have been trying to kind of like disassemble that. I've been trying to unpack it. I've been trying to not do that shit anymore. It's taken a lot of time. And I think that we can blame this on men being the sole writers of women pretty much since media began, considering that most directors nowadays are still men. Most writers are still men. I want to see this change in the future, but because it has been the way that it's been for however many generations, it's ingrained in us. Women are often written in very certain ways. Think of your manic pixie dream girl, which was like so popular in the early 2010s. Thankfully, we've like kind of exited that era. Women were written in a very certain way, overly sexualized, given a nude scene when not necessary, always looking beautiful and dainty. And it's just put these unrealistic expectations for us as women while we're
Who you're trying
watching
to
women
look
on
like.
our screens. But then I also had to remember that
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't really mean to interrupt, but
no,
like
Bear,
the
you
women
did-
she's showing and what she looks like, it's exactly what her look is.
That's
This is
exactly what I thought. Yeah.
the funniest part of this episode, y'all. I watched this a couple times and I'm like, there's so much going on here. She is shitting on women as she shits on men.
Well, and she's talking about how she was putting on an act for men, and it's like at some point throughout my dating, I finally realized that I just have to like if I'm gonna start dating a girl, I need to be my own asshole self right
Yeah,
off the bat.
yeah.
Like, don't try to be the nice guy. Just show all the warts, show all the asshole there is, and then maybe if someone sticks with me, then that's a way to narrow it down, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I think we all go, that's a pretty a universal thing that we sort of learn, you know. Probably not everybody. There's some people that have been brought up in really secure households and know exactly who they are.
Yet.
No, not at all.
Well, and she was talking shit about quote unquote manic pixie dream girls. And
It's totally the look she's going for too.
Yeah. Look at her. Yeah.
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 100%.
She actually looks a bit trans to me, but whatever. Hard to pick.
Look,
sorry, lady, but you know,
she's
the
kind of the
eyebrow.
worst. I don't like her. I don't like what she says, but I think there's a lot to unpack.
Some
Again,
girls and their nails. I don't know. It's
she's
just-
I think she's a very unhappy person. She seems to be shitting on everybody. Like I said, women and men.
I agree with Stella about
Matt-
the nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, there's way too much time. You know, I
Those
mean,
are not
we're talking.
functional.
No, I had them once in my life. They lasted less than a week. I couldn't stand them. I couldn't do anything. And that was decades ago. But just the amount of time, like we're talking about the gym, you know, obsessed
Yeah.
guy, and it's the amount of time that women spend. Let's talk about that just for a moment.
Yeah, how's that
I'm
for
not
a double
included, by the
standard?
way.
Double
I-
standard. Yeah.
I went to a hairdresser for the first time in, the second time in 6 years, but the first time was a failure anyway. Second time in 6 years the other day. My friend used to be my hairdresser. And I just, I haven't missed it at all, but it's just the amount of chemicals that I haven't had is awesome, and the amount of money that I've saved is awesome. The amount of time that I've saved is awesome, because that's usually 2 hours when you have a couple of streaks or whatever. And do you like it, by the way? Do you like what I did?
Yeah, Stella, it looks
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank you very much.
I can't believe we didn't already say something.
I know, I was just waiting, but I didn't want to be rude. But the amount of time spent on nails and things as well. And look, I have this thing, I find it really hard to walk past those nail salon places in malls, shopping malls. And all the women are sitting on these great big plush chairs, and they've got their feet in these buckets. And these Asians have got masks over their faces, breathing in chemicals all day so these women can have their toenails done. Oh my gosh, I always say a prayer for those poor people, because I just can't think of anything worse. And also the hierarchy, I hate it. These women are always sitting in a great big chair right up high like a throne. And these poor girls are, hanging over these women's feet all day. And these women are just, with their nails, they're doing their scrolling, or, they're on their phone or such and such. I'm embarrassed to be a woman when I walk past those places. I had to say that. Been wanting to get that out.
I want to point out that her nails are grown out a little bit. You can see like the real nail behind the fake ones. So that makes it extra gross. But also
fake and gay fake nails.
Yeah.
Were you a cosmetologist in a previous life, or
I've had painted nails. Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, in high school I let some girls paint my nails, and it hurts. Like the chemicals hurt, actually.
Wow.
Like I mean, they hurt for a while and then it wears off, but like it's not a great feeling thing.
Yeah, and also the glue to stick them on is really bad as well.
Oh, I didn't do the paste on long ones. I just had like the paint.
Oh, okay, dear. I'm kind of glad to hear that you don't really know a whole lot. Sorry, Ando, you go.
Cautionary tale. I used the chemicals. I bleached and dyed my hair back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and look at what I got now. So,
well,
just letting y'all know.
It works for you.
Try some of that coffee shampoo.
Wait, what is this? Coffee shampoo?
Have you not heard of the coffee shampoo? Well, actually, it's caffeine shampoo. Is that not a
really?
product over there in America?
I've used soap before that had coffee in it, but I used it on my hair as well. But, I don't know if women know this, but men don't shampoo. We just have soap that we use everywhere.
Yeah.
Depends on the man. I can tell you there's some men who have
Mike
more
has long
products
hair.
in their bathroom than
I've always
I've ever had.
But recently I do the shampoo bar.
I always just bought the big bottles of Dr. Bronner's, and I'd wash everything head to toe, but I would skip my hair. Like, I would only wash my hair once a week or whatever, whenever it felt greasy. Otherwise, I'd leave it be. But I recently heard that Dr. Bronner's is, I don't want to say it, but.
Come on.
What?
Because I use Dr. Bronner's. Come on, spit it out.
Somebody said it's juice soap, but.
Oh, okay. Well, probably. Look.
So it's made out. Is it made with real juice?
Right?
Goddamn. Bronner's juice.
No, not that I give a fuck, I don't give
I think you'll find that most of the products that we use probably end up
probably.
being owned by. So, don't worry about it.
Parent corporation. Yeah. If not owned by BlackRock in some capacity.
Yeah, definitely BlackRock is on all of those cosmetic products.
Yep. They're all pharmaceuticals. Yeah.
In Hayduk 2029, soap is a major commodity. So, buy my book.
Men were also written for the big screens by men most of the time. And then I was like, oh my God, it makes so much sense why I'm not really attracted to so many men in movies or on TV shows. There's very few, like, John Stamos as Jesse Katsopoulos. But why were men who were like super duper uber conventionally attractive and who were shirtless, ripped superheroes, why didn't they ever do it for me? as a woman who likes men. Think of your Marvel Cinematic Universe type of men. Think of all the Chris's, however many there is, Chris Pratt, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth. There's a lot. I just never really cared for any of them. However, men who were perceived as more softer and like more in tune with their feminine side and were kind to the female characters, those were the men that I was most attracted to. Take, for example, Ezra Miller's character Patrick in Perks of Being a Wallflower. I know I can't believe that I'm mentioning Ezra Miller in this video, but we're just gonna try and ignore who Ezra Miller is and just focus on their character Patrick instead. Patrick was never shirtless, never sexualized, not written for the female gaze whatsoever. Patrick's only interactions with women were kind and endearing, and the character ended up being gay anyway, yet was still perceived as one of the most attractive characters, at least to me and my female friend group. And I highly doubt that the male director of Perks of Being a Wallflower intended for Patrick to be this extremely attractive character to women. Even though a character like Jesse Katsopoulos, Uncle Jesse from Full House, was definitely written to be attractive to women, he was not because of his asshole-ish, jockey nature, but more so his endearment for loving children and being very soft in that sense and being very sweet to the women around. Want to be overpowered by men anymore. We want men who see us as their equal. We want men who fawn over us, who are dreamboats, who will respect us and other women, who are not going to be assholes to us and have very toxic masculine traits. For me personally, one of the most attractive men to me is Fletcher Shears, who is very comfortable dressing however he pleases, will sometimes put on a long wig and a dress and makeup. And while some men may be like, what the fuck do you see in this dude? I am like, I love a man who is very confident in himself and isn't scared to show a more feminine side to him, dressing how he wants, not caring about how someone may perceive him. And then on top of that is just a gentle, nice person as perceived in interviews. And
that's like probably more than enough. I'm sorry, guys.
I
know.
couldn't help but notice that the traits
Yeah.
that she was attracted to in the jock guy were fatherly traits.
Hmm.
Like
Well, I
being
think
good with
that's-
kids. I
Yeah.
don't know.
That's just an
Do
instinct,
you have
isn't
to
it?
be gay to like kids? Like, is that how it is these days?
Hmm.
There's got to be
Well,
some like fucking sexual overtone to it.
Maybe it's a bit of a reflection of a generation that's been brought up with harsh men. I don't know. Where are these people from? It's going to vary depending on what part of the country they're from, maybe what country they're from, greatly. This is just a narrative.
Well, but it's sort of indicative of something. I don't know. If you have
Narrative.
women saying they'd rather be with a bear than a strange man, right? That's the level of fear that has been put into them. I remember going to college, orientation, freshman year. They had this play. It was like they had actors and it was super cheesy and it was all about sexual assault and it was all about like how scary men are, basically. And it's like, oh my God, like even at the time I'm like, I wasn't planning on raping anybody here. What, like, why am I feeling attacked?
I think these things generally serve to just their little, social thermometers. I've been all these things are just like, well, how dumb are they now? Okay,
Yeah.
they're up to that bit, right?
But they've scared a lot of these girls. I'm saying. They
Yeah, but
really
have
have.
they? Because these girls aren't really thinking. They don't look like critical thinkers, most of them. Have they stopped to really think about it? Like that chick, went through in the video. It takes a video on YouTube to see some critical thinking these days, apparently. So, maybe we should all sit them down and go through the facts with them. Well, okay, a bear weighs this and a man weighs that. It's just like, nah, I'm not buying any of it. I think if they're not plants, they're just non-critical thinkers, but that's all reflective completely of the education system because that's the narrative as well. The narrative is just the bars. We're in the prison. It's just keeping us in here. and testing the waters every so often, the dumb level. Nearly there, chaps. Nearly there, reptiles. Won't be much longer. And if I hear one more person with vocal fry,
Oh my God. Isn't that the worst? It drives
Another
me
thing.
crazy. Yeah.
another thing that's been trained into the young people, and another thing that's been trained into the young people, like this is you know how Kim Kardashian, she had, you know, she's naturally got dark hair, black hair, whatever, and then she got it dyed blonde, and then there's the outgrowth, right? So it's like this whole stripe. It's almost like a bloody skunk. Now that's exactly the sort of thing that was a sin not that long ago. It's like, oh, I've got to go and get my roots done. But now it's like, oh God, my roots are showing. It's like, what the, you know, like, how do these things get turned around to 180-degree opposites so easily? It's hilarious. It's like, well, whatever's in is going to be out, and then whatever's out is going to be in. It's just fashion. It's all about suggestion, bringing it into the mindset, into the psyche, until people just follow like those lemmings.
Well, I don't know where to go. I don't want to give you any more bestiality.
Thank you.
know? Yeah.
Appreciate that. Well, what's been going down?
Well, okay. How
Apart
about
from
we go?
bears.
How about we go somewhere totally different? This is, the big one. Jews and Muslims.
This is Crown Heights, Brooklyn, the Jew capital of America and recently famous for the Jewish tunnels. And this is Dearborn, Michigan, the Muslim capital of America, recently in the news for this clip. Both of these groups have seen a rapid increase in harassment and hate with the ongoing war between the Palestinians and Israel in Gaza. But how different are these two religions? And what do they really stand for? On my way to Brooklyn to meet up with the Hasidic Jews in Crown Heights, I learned of Columbia University students protesting in support of Palestine, setting up a liberated zone on campus, and then this happened.
Listen to me now. They are not letting me on campus. Civil right, as a Jewish person to be on campus. I have a right as a professor. I am a professor here. I have every right to be everywhere on campus. You cannot let people that support Hamas on campus and me, a professor, not go on campus. Let me in now.
Before I infiltrate the university and see their camp, I wanted to hear what some of the protesters had to say.
Can we pause quick?
Made it to Columbia. Let's see what's going on here.
I just noticed there was something he said. Who the professor there said people who sympathize with Hamas, and this is something that I've seen a big conflagration of, I guess, or it's people who support Palestine or who sympathize with the Palestinians, the poor people who have been oppressed for many years. They're being characterized as supporting Hamas because Hamas is fighting Israel. But Hamas and Palestinians are not at all the same thing. And this is something that came up in my real life in a conversation where someone said these pro-Hamas rallies. And I have not seen, I could be wrong, I have not seen evidence that these people are in support of Hamas. Now, granted, I will say that these protests are very organized by powers that be. So not saying it's organic or anything, but at the same time, there's a lot of mischaracterization, like saying things like from the river to the sea apparently means kill all Jews. And I don't hear kill all Jews in from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free, right? That's a cry for freedom. And somehow it gets characterized as a cry for genocide. And I'm seeing a lot of this kind of dialectic confusion going on here in this whole thing. Anything? Anyone?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say it is all catchphrases, and I don't know. There are certainly I've seen some like extreme, quote unquote, signs and people being whatever.
They're ramping us up to get people to fight each other for sure, and that's definitely what's going on.
Yeah,
and that sucks.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And like the next scene we're about to see is the the white men and the black people and whatever coming in to break it all up, because this is between Jews and Muslims apparently. But then it's not really, is it? Because in come the the Force, which are going to also be the bad guy, I guess.
Man, if only the Force would, if it's on the campus, just like stay out of it and
yeah. I was actually watching it. I was watching an interview with a couple of security guys. I think they were police yesterday, and it sounded to me like it was all quite cooperative the way it was happening. I don't know whether it's actually really. I mean, look, I can't really say because I haven't looked into it much. But these couple of guys were just saying, look, we gave them the ultimatum of like, well, if this happens, then this is going to happen. And they said most of them just said, yeah, they didn't want the trouble, and they just turned around and went home. So whether that happened or not, I don't know. Or maybe that was just one part of the day, perhaps.
I've heard similar things where it's not as serious as it's being played out to be in the media.
Shocker.
Go
Believe
figure.
it or not.
Yeah, exactly. This is the whole thing. Everything we see is not how it is.
Yeah.
Until the media is not owned, and I mean YouTube and everything, like I don't even know what's true on YouTube anymore, because really, as an editor, you can completely change the connotations of something with the right edits and, taking out a few words here and there. I'm sure everybody's aware of that. So,
For sure.
beware. I guess it's getting more and more. The bullshit level is just off the scale.
What are you here for?
I'm here to protest against Hamas.
Can you tell me what that means?
What that means to me personally is making louder noise than they're making. Hamas has done some terrible things, and they are a plague upon both the Israeli and the Arab world, and I hope that Israel defeats them soon.
Many people who feel that the Palestinian people are being slaughtered, and we're saying not in our name. My age said it about Vietnam, not in my name, apartheid, not in my name, and all the different mass movements for justice. And that's what's happening here, supporting the students. Some people think that Jewish people have to defend Israel. I come from a long line of Jewish people. My relatives were killed in the Holocaust, but all of whom fought against injustice. And I think that is a tradition of Jewish people, not to continue to defend Israel blindly, no matter what's happening.
So when they say they stand for Hamas or they're in support of Hamas, what does that mean?
From my perspective, and again, I understand that they might not understand what they're saying. Sure. What I see is I support the organization that killed my friend in Gaza 3 months ago. I support the organization that has been raining down rockets on civilians for literally decades. I cannot see a situation in which we will have peace with the organization Hamas.
We're here to support the Jewish brothers and sisters from all this anti-Semitic scum that are standing across from us.
And release the hostages.
Release the hostages is the number one priority.
What do you think they're here in support of?
They're here in support of hate the Jews. They're not here to support Gaza. If they want to go to Gaza to help anybody of the Palestinians, they should go there to Gaza.
So when someone says free Palestine, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean? That's a good idea. It actually means nothing. There really is no Palestine. There's no place on the map that's Palestine.
And are most of these people here in support of Hamas or the Palestinians? And what is this?
Most of these people.
Holy fucking shit, that's a lot of ignorance on display.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole lot of energy gone into things that people don't even understand. It's incredible, isn't it? Go home and look after your family.
Yeah, really. Yeah, it's a ton of energy going into, like, they don't have any idea what they're fighting for or talking about or what they're putting all this energy into.
No.
For sure. But I guess we're doing it now too, huh?
Well,
we're being social commentators.
We're breaking it down, maybe. I don't know. It's like BLM. A lot of energy going somewhere. Like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maybe it's back to that harnessing question. Do they somehow harness this energy en masse? Or is it just purely, not on a existential sort of level, and it's more just fanning the flames to get people angry and divide
I
more and more and more?
In a
I
way,
almost wonder if it's a peacock, if it's, you know what I mean? Like on a pressure cooker, or not a peacock, a petcock.
Oh.
Where a pressure cooker reaches a certain pressure and you have a weighted valve. And when it reaches that pressure, the valve lifts and it releases. I think these social movements might serve that role. It's like we have to keep people tampered down, but they need a release every so often. At least the young ones. So let's feed them something.
I think it's a misdirection thing. Like, as long as they're exerting this energy toward some far off enemy or toward each other, then they're not exerting it toward us, the bankers or the elites.
Yeah.
That was the thing about, there was a big pivot around 2009, 10, the occupation, the Wall Street Occupy stuff. It seemed like the bankers caught on that they were onto them, and then suddenly racism became a huge thing that it wasn't before. And like suddenly all the cops were racist, and there was a ton of stuff that became way more, it obviously was injected into the culture at that point. And to me, that's a signal that they were onto the right enemy. And then the enemy managed to distract us all and get us to fight each other instead of them.
Fair analogy. I tend to agree with what Hypo Drake was saying in the comments here about a lot of the hostages were probably AI created faces. There's no doubt. I mean, it's come to light that a lot of what we were seeing, a lot of what was being presented to those who without critical thinking brains it was just all crap. I mean, I've said it a number of times. I saw quite a bit of footage with silicon dummies, silicon babies and silicon ladies, and mannequins in the far background. In fact, there was even a picture within that last video we were just looking at. It was very soon after you started it again, of a whole bunch of, force, soldiers. It just, I don't know, it flashed by real quick, but it looked a little bit mocked up. But anyway, I'm not going to ask you to go back to it, but this is what they do. This is the tactics that they use. I think the only way to not get sort of sucked in by it all is just turn it all off, unless you'll, listen to WTF forum, of course. We'll sort it out.
We're trying. Ando, you were gone for a minute, but...
Oh yeah, I pulled my clothes out of the dryer. If you're seeing it, they want you to see it, and that's how it always works. You're not seeing anything secret, especially on these things that get really big.
Well, you know what's interesting about these protests, and No Agenda commented. Look out in this footage for the green tents. There's a whole lot of green tents.
People don't know what.
Right, because
I support the two-state solution. So I do not align 100% with all of their agenda, which is probably a one-state solution or something. I fully support that, like, Palestinian human rights are important, and like even in war, there has to be morality of war.
We're offering first-class free tickets to Gaza for any of these supporters who would like to go there and support Hamas and, really support their cause. I mean, put their money where their mouth is, and we'll actually pay for it.
They can go fight.
They could fight. They can do aid. They could bandage the militants. They could give blood to the militants. And all the girls here can go sleep with the militants and be one of their wives. It would be amazing. They would love it. They'd be welcomed. Especially the LGBTQ community especially would really love it there. I can't believe people are spending this much money to get so stupid. And
How much does it cost to go to school here?
I believe it's around $80,000, $90,000 a year. If you study history, especially if you're Jewish, you're a bit sensitive to this behavior because anti-Zionism is quickly turning into anti-Jewish.
Feel safe to be Jewish out here in New York City 2024?
On college campuses, it's kind of terrifying. You get in there and you see people basically holding signs that I saw one that was, the Jews on this campus are Hamas's next targets. It's like, that is unbelievable. I mean, I saw a photo that was literally protesters stopping Jewish students from getting into buildings. And it's like, that's straight up anti-Semitism. I think there are people that are a little more naive in the camp that do have good hearts that want the right thing, which is just to end bloodshed for people that don't deserve it. But you get lumped in with the worst ideologies that are a part of it, which includes wanting all Jews in the region just dead, supporting Hamas. You ask them what they think about Jews, and I've seen people say scum, like scum of the earth, dirty, like yada, yada, yada.
With so many opinions on both sides, I wanted to hear from the actual students occupying Columbia and understand their motives. But it turns out they only talk to pre-approved press.
They said they have no press policy right now.
No, what do you mean?
We have designated people to talk to press.
Designated people?
Can we be on background?
What do you mean? Like,
you know what on background means?
No. What does it mean?
These aren't serious journalists. They don't know what on background means. So
What do you mean? He said we're not serious journalists. We don't know what on background means. Given that I am, in fact, just a college dropout with a camera, I began scouting the entirety.
Regardless of race, regardless of sexual orientation, no matter what, the consensus is we want to free Palestine. And showing out the numbers really exposes who has the power.
Despite the sheer number of protesters out here, they were almost unanimously masked up and uninterested in sharing their thoughts on what this camp stood for.
Hi there. Can I see what's inside? I think this is such a good thing. Are there people there?
There are people there.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. What does it offer? Because it's such a peaceful protest. I think it's such a good thing.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of different providers around here, just of the nature of being a college protest. I'm an EMT. We have some first responders. We have doctors, nurses. We're not operating in any official capacity, but the idea is, even if there aren't necessarily violent injuries, which thank God there are not.
There have been none, right?
It's just that originally someone had a seizure when we did not have any tents up because of the heat, and since then we've decided to just consolidate a bunch of different medical supplies and medical responders just in case anyone needs some help.
Yeah.
You good? Yeah, I'm good. Are you
Hi
recording?
there. Yeah. Just been walking around. Oh yeah, I walked up, just recording.
Yeah, we don't want any
I
recording
see,
around
okay.
the Yeah, sorry, I thought you were
see.
just asking.
Okay. Just trying to show how peaceful this is.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your
Have a
time.
good one.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yet, as I had my headshot taken by this dude, the hypocrisy was obvious.
Like the interview? Okay.
As lunchtime began, I was impressed to witness a compliance test in real time as the protesters
We
echoed
pause for a
the
sec.
lunch option.
That was an operative for sure. The guy with the old outdated camera. Nah, he's an operative. So this is what they do. I mean, this is why that black guy just got beaten up, apparently, because he was an operative sent in to a protest or whatever, and the other cops weren't told that there were operatives in there. So they just beat him up, basically, and beat him up bad, apparently. This is the story. I don't believe it. Anyway, they send them in there just to take photos of people who are, smashing windows and doors and whatever and hurting people, to have them on record. But they're just plain closed. But normally they have a code, like all the people with red shirts or whatever, or a code word. But this guy apparently didn't. That's off the track.
So I saw the logo on the tent, and the tent brand is MSR, which is a good quality tent. I think this whole thing's being sponsored. I've heard Soros money, Rockefeller money going into it, Rothschild money. Get them mixed up sometimes because they both start with R and run the world, but and they are slightly intermingled. But yeah, they the tents are definitely made by MSR. It looks like I don't know if they give some sort of discount for this or whatever, but this is controlled opposition. This is how it always goes.
100%.
They're using this, and they got to push through this ridiculous anti-Semitism bill the other day. That is just like you can't say shit about them. Like this show is banned if this bill passes.
Yeah, it's Soros money, 100% for sure. It's also an experiment, always multifaceted.
So they need these shit lib kids to do this so that they can push this stuff and say that there's a real problem to shut guys like me up.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering what the difference between a slave and an operative is, because all those people wearing masks, they seem like slaves to me, and an operative is also a slave, so they're all just slaves on maybe like very slightly different levels.
What's up with everybody wearing masks?
Outdoors.
Brainwashed. And also, it's partly keeping their face off camera a little bit, I suppose.
Yes, tiny bit, not really.
Yeah.
Well, facial recognition has the ability to get past that now, apparently.
Yeah, the masks are not going away as far as protests go. Now they have a good excuse. They have an excuse. They can just say, hey, I'm complying, because they probably didn't take the mask rules off the books in places.
It's also an experiment in the sense of they like to watch how people respond. Like, for instance, there's that, not saying any of it's organic, but let's pretend. There's the tent with the first aid and everything. It's sort of like to see how everybody kind of organizes themselves, I suppose. There's got to be some organic stuff going on. It's not all completely scripted, I suppose. I don't know. There's got to be people who aren't in on it, but are just going along with it.
People who can be brainwashed into doing these kind of things, they are the cheapest slaves.
Yeah, go with the flow.
Yeah,
Don't want to stand out. Don't want to be standing up.
They're doing it because they are like standing for a cause that they got convinced of by their college, right?
Exactly, and isn't it? I mean, it should speak volumes that it's a problem to get somebody's pronouns wrong, whereas these people can stand there and outrightly threaten the lives of people walking past. So it's like, what's with that? That's got to speak volumes to people.
Not only
To
that,
their
but
comrades.
just completely like accusing certain groups of people of things that other groups of people, like they have no idea the difference between these different groups of people that they're spouting out, like Hamas and Palestine and Israel and Zion. Like, these people clearly don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and the things that they're saying have a lot of implications behind them, like you mentioned, like you were implying, Stella. So like, yeah, like, it's crazy.
Yeah, and you've got the Israeli pro guy standing there saying, okay, well, we'll buy them a ticket to go over to Palestine and do whatever they want. Yeah, okay, fair point. So you're doing the same thing. How about you go over to Israel? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, right.
The hypocrisy is off the scale. But
yeah, if Israel's the victim, they need more guys, right?
Yeah.
Well, you don't need more guys if you just make your women fight.
Send the bears.
Yeah, they don't have any bears. Sorry to them. That's all we need to do as North America is weaponize our bears.
Yep.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
Grizzly has a lot going for him.
I don't think the koala's going to do you a whole lot of good there, Stella.
The drop bears have got this. Do you worry about that?
Well, if you have any doubt that this shit is like sponsored, just look at this.
But given that I was not pre-approved press, my cover was eventually blown.
Taking pictures of people's faces and everything. So if you could just be mindful of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
While the liberated zone seemingly voiced unanimous support for Palestine, I found these dudes in the back holding an American flag. You guys are all students at Columbia here?
Yes, sir.
Are you guys Jewish?
No.
No?
Stepping back up for America. We're back, baby. We're not going to let this country fall.
American flags were also burned here?
I don't know if it was burned off campus or on campus, but apparently something happened last night. So
You think they're protesting for or against? What is their objective?
I'm not too sure, because I don't know if their protesting is going to have anything to do with the war going on over in the Middle East. Most of them.
So apparently, like, frat dudes to the rescue has been kind of a thing the last couple days, which is hilarious and also sus.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah, big time on the sus.
Yeah. Should we carry on?
Yeah.
Yes. So the ones that were in Ole Miss turned out to be also Jews. So, you know, it's like, I mean, they're just, this is just what they want you to see. So everybody, all eyes on this. This is something that we should be, this whole like protest at universities, we should ignore it like we ignore every other protest at a university, because I guarantee you there's a protest like every week at these fucking liberal universities. They're protesting something, no matter what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Just don't give this shit attention. This is what they want to.
I have the impression it's going on at the big universities, because I live in a small university town, and that's not going on here. Everything's cool here. So, where are the protests?
Yeah, I think there's a whole lot of AI being used visually that is just so good because, as has been pointed out ad nauseum, we always get the little toys to play with, the initial prototypes, basically, of anything, any tech. And they are way ahead. They are way ahead of anything that we could possibly be familiar with. And I just feel that the whole AI thing is just running the show, as in AI video and everything. I mean, even looking at that, I don't know. There's parts of that I would even question whether that's real.
I don't know. I think
don't know.
I think it doesn't have to be AI. Like, I think
I think it's about large part of it is what I'm saying. I think it's really being used as a major tool along with other things.
Well, I think it's really, I think these protests are happening. These encampments, these sit-ins, whatever. They're locking down certain universities, but it's the ones you would almost expect. It's Berkeley, I don't know, Columbia, fill in the blank, but I think they're trying to build up to another like big, summer of protests.
Yeah, I just want to get one thing clear with what I just said. I'm not at all suggesting that any of this isn't happening, not by any means. What I think they do is they intersperse, like they create these things, they fan a few flames, and then they intersperse a few things here and there, little bits of footage here and there, which just changes the whole and exacerbates what the narrative is. So I'm not saying that it's completely phony, but I think the Hollywood people who no longer have jobs are they've still got jobs. The special effects, etc., are really coloring, to suit the narrative. And as Ando's pointed out, we're only seeing anything because they want us to. So it's about the focus.
Well, you saw Netanyahu demand this legislation happen. Basically, that's what happened. He was like, he came out and said all this stuff, and then Congress passed the House passed a resolution like the next day. It's obvious who controls what, and now you can't say who controls what if this comes out, if this happens. It's fucking bullshit, and it's typical.
Yeah, I was just watching some footage of like I don't know how they got it, but some footage in some documentary from a while ago of Netanyahu. He was just like in his lounge room. I think he was talking to his family or something, and just the way he's sort of talking now. Not saying that that's not faked either, but it certainly seemed fairly legit. And just the disregard, I think, of just how basically America's just feeding out of their hands. He's not worried about us. Oh, you guys, I should say, or Westerners, Anyway, I probably shouldn't really say that because I can't prove it's true, but it's just the whole attitude is like, yeah, it's being driven. There's no doubt about it. None of this is organic.
He cares about Westerners as far as they can help him.
Exactly. Yes. That was the essence of what he was saying.
Saw a pretty good meme the other day, and it was a picture of a bunch of caskets with American flags on them, and it says, "You're an anti-Semite if you don't get in the box."
Yeah, right. Very apt.
There you go.
It's been some bloody brilliant cartoons coming out of late, I must say.
I gotta love Bernie Sanders' recent thing. Like, yeah, he's a little late to the party, but he's like the most typical freaking Jew you could possibly imagine. And he's talking about how it's not anti-Semitic to point out how many people the Jews have killed in this whole this most recent kerfuffle.
The Israelis, we should say.
Yes, the Israelis. I'm sorry, the Zionists.
Yeah.
Well, so
not the
I've
Jews.
pointed this out before, that there's two factions that are squabbling over everything right now in Israel, and they're kind of squabbling over American politics as well. And this is why you hear Schumer come out and trashing Netanyahu. Still, you know, whenever Netanyahu shows up, he gets 4 standing ovations from Congress. So don't be fooled. You know who runs shit. That's how it goes.
All right.
Zelensky gave him a run for his money. I think he got 3. They couldn't give him more. It would never happen.
I can't help but think that they're connected, but
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you study the Khazars, then you'll figure it out. And then if you also know who's rebuilding after Ukraine is destroyed, being BlackRock and Larry Fink, then you got that figured out. Then if you also start to go, oh hey, maybe this Wuhan thing might be a whole bunch of red herrings and everything like that, and there were biolabs in Western Europe. Oh, they were all biolabs in the Ukraine. Maybe you should start looking at that, because they took our eyes off that pretty quick as soon as they started doing that. And then, the conservatives kept going, China, China, China. They always do that. So here we are.
I have heard on a couple of occasions that the street signs and some of the place names, I think, don't quote me, are being translated into Hebrew.
Where is this?
In Ukraine, sorry.
Oh, already? That's hilarious.
If it's true, yeah.
They could not be more overt. That's so funny.
Damn.
I don't want to be spreading rumors, but that was 2 different sources that said pretty much the same thing. And it was just sort of a real quick side comment thing. It wasn't like majorly focused on that. So I tend to sort of prick my ears up about those things a little bit, because it's not what the main focus is of the story.
Seems like they could use a wall down the middle of that country.
Yeah, we all just need to build a wall everywhere.
Walls everywhere. Walls. Obviously.
Chinese had it right.
God damn. Oh shit. Well, I don't know. Let's watch a little more fear porn.
Probably just want to be affiliated with something. Most of them have no affiliation with Palestine. They don't really want to talk to anybody, Yeah, I think they're just young kids, a little immature. They don't really know how to handle something like this. I don't really blame them half much. I credit them for their devotion and their loyalty for what they're doing, but I think they're a little bit misinformed on how to actually get things done. And I think they're going about it the wrong way. But honestly, I don't really care about that. I just have to deal with the flag.
This is a USA rally right here.
That's right, yep.
Okay.
USA rally.
Ben Berkholm, Real America's Voice News. I think God bless these guys for being up here. And what one of the guys said, the people here don't appreciate. We got these guys down here, I would say mostly misguided. They want to destroy this country from within. We're in a battle for the future of our nation, and this is evidence of that. College campuses across America that have allowed leftist, communist, America haters to take it over, and this is what you get. And if we don't stand up as a country, we're going to lose this nation.
You go to Columbia?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this protest?
I mean, honestly, if they didn't call for the murder of my entire family and all of my friends, I think it would have been like pretty wicked cool. But I think people like sitting on my lawn and like crying for the murder of my family is not very cool. I got spit on for speaking Hebrew on campus.
When was this?
This was like right after October 7th. All of my Israeli friends, most of my Jewish friends, were too scared to go on campus. I just came down from downtown, thought I'd read a little. Robert, I don't know if you know, but Robert Kraft kind of pulled out.
I saw that.
Significant Jewish donor. I don't think Jews can be here if they feel unsafe on this campus. It's not cool. And I'm like, I love protests. Like, I'm a big protest guy, but this is scary.
Turn it on. So we agreed to community guidelines by virtue of walking in. Is this how this works?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Well, we didn't sign anything.
No, this is my lawns. I pay for these lawns.
You pay what, 90 grand a year to come here?
Yeah, I pay a lot of money, man.
You pay full tuition?
Yeah, a little bit of financial aid.
So behind us as well, we have. Hello. We're just walking through. Thank you. Okay. Besides the implicit community guidelines concept, I would say a relatively chill experience. I think my time has come.
Can I get the tent?
No, well, it's like impossible to avoid people's faces if
I
you're
see.
filming this.
Any thoughts?
That guy that's scared, that's another big tactic is all the people, like that guy's not running shit. The guy's just a normal guy, well, sort of, because he really fucking loves protests and whatever. But he's a pretty normal guy, and that's another thing about this whole keep them scared thing, because that's what they do to those guys. They keep them scared. They freak the fuck out. Netanyahu gets Congress to pass whatever the fuck he wants, and Zog rolls on. Here we go.
I can't even just record.
Well, I mean, when you came in, you agreed to the community guidelines, right? And so one of them.
Did I sign something?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't
Oh, I
sign
see.
it.
I'm
This
just-
is a good faith agreement.
I see. I see. Okay, that makes sense.
After witnessing the Columbia Liberated Zone before protesters broke into a building, were arrested by NYPD, and the camp was shut down, I met up with Ahmed in the Muslim capital of America, Dearborn, Michigan, and Rabbi Yoni in the Jew capital of America, Crown Heights, Brooklyn, to better understand both sides of this conflict by entering communities that have brought their culture from the Middle East and maintained it in the U.S. The synagogue.
Let's go to the synagogue.
All right.
So out of all Hasidic groups, we delve deeply into the thought and understanding of why did God create the world in the first place? And what does it mean to have a soul? And what's our greater mission to the outside world? How do we see?
I'm not sure, but I think this might be the same guy that showed us how to make coffee.
No, I mean, they all dress the same. They all dress like that. It's hard.
Is that racist? Was I just a oh.
Non-Jews or non-Hasidic Jews.
So we headed into the synagogue that made national news a few months ago for illegally expanding the synagogue. And for this. It's open to the public.
Yeah, we're going right in.
All right. So how many people come in here every day, would you say?
On a daily basis, thousands.
Thousands?
It's hustling and bustling. So here they're doing the afternoon prayers of Mincha. So they're we pray 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. So he's doing the afternoon prayers and yeshiva study going on here. Prayers, learning, charity. Look at all these charity boxes. Right now, it's kind of empty in here. If you come back during prayer service,
This is empty?
this is empty.
So during Passover, this is going to be packed.
Packed. You wouldn't even be able to stand there. There would be thousands of people there.
So the situation overseas, there was no security when we walked in. Is it dangerous to be here on a day-to-day basis? Does stuff go down?
We have God as our security.
Okay.
The Garden of Israel doesn't slumber nor sleep.
Interesting. So you don't have any safety concerns?
No, we don't try to be reckless, and we're not. There are, as you saw outside, there is NYPD and the local sort of patrol that keeps an eye. So there is an eye. There's cameras.
Is it a dangerous time to be a Jew, from your perspective?
Absolutely not. It's never a dangerous time. As a Jew, we have to be proud of who we are. Realize we have a mission. We're called the chosen people, and the reason we're called the chosen people is because God said, "I want one nation to teach the rest of the world." And you're chosen, just like you have a teacher in the classroom and you have students. So God chose us, and God said, to tell the world a special message. He told us to be an Ar Lagoyim, a light unto the nations.
Right now,
Anybody? I'm like, I feel like I'm throwing a lot out there, and I'm not trying to. Well, I don't know. How do you feel about us being the students? The Goyim. Didn't he say the word Goyim?
Well, Goyim means nations, and whenever he was saying the light of the nations, the word would be in there, and yeah. But it doesn't seem that we're allowed to have a nation. That's the thing, is that you look at Biden's cabinet, top to bottom Jews, and what are they doing? They're causing this war in the Ukraine, which is completely infiltrated and run by a Jew. I mean, yeah, we're not allowed to have a fucking nation. It's bullshit.
Seems
That's
to be
one
the
of-
consensus.
Yeah, that's one of the part of the playbook of the whole disaster is killing nationalism, sovereignty, all that stuff, national pride, unity. It's all part of it.
Identity.
Yep.
What'd you think of the frat boys?
Who, me?
Anyone?
Some of them seemed like military dudes, and there was one at least that just seemed like a straight up Fed. But I don't know. Like, I could be totally wrong. That's just my superficial from watching the video impression. You know.
Are you talking about the American white boys that were at that protest at the end that were sort of?
No, so I missed a bit. So I'm talking about the ones that were at the Palestinian protest on the steps there with the flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently,
yeah, they seemed like placed heroes to me because everybody needs a hero.
Yeah.
It's always got to be a hero.
Yeah, I just got a little bit of military vibe there.
Yeah, Fetty vibe. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a thing that's happened a couple times at different campuses where like the frat bros like show up with, American flags. It wouldn't be hard for feds to pose as frat bros. But then again, I wouldn't put it past the frat bros.
It could be that they're just stepping up.
Yeah.
Yeah, all six of them.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I
6 of
remember
them, right.
where I went to school, there was the Jewish fraternity and there was a bunch of other fraternities, so like I wouldn't put, the frat bro is like your typical jock, corn-fed rich boy, I guess.
Are they sort of like Proud Boys? Is that the same thing?
Well, a fraternity brother, I mean, they're just like, it's kind of a stereotype, but like they're just they do you guys have fraternities out there? Like, it's a hard thing to explain. Maybe Bear can help me out.
I don't know about the uni scene much. All I
Well,
know is that most people that come out of uni have got their heads completely screwed.
I was only in a frat for a couple years, and that was actually in high school. So it was like a junior frat, put it that way. Kind of like Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts are in a way. There's always some initiation and some kind of like, but then there's also like all kinds of adventures you go through or whatever. It was I don't know. It seemed very real at the time at first, but then I realized very quickly that not all these guys, just because we had been through the same experience together, which was the initiation or hazing or whatever, that wasn't too serious, don't worry. It was pretty tame as far as the things you can hear that might happen. It was just they'd wake you up in the middle of the night and make you do shit, right? And but you felt like bonded with these guys, right? And then real life happens, and pretty quickly you realize that, just because we went through this thing doesn't mean that we're loyal to each other, actually. We're not brothers. These are not my brothers. My brother is my brother, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like a whole thing. but it's funny. I feel like I just heard a boom. It was a weird boom. It wasn't a gunshot, and it wasn't I don't know. Somebody lit a bomb. Is what it fucking sound. Not a big one, but
Got any thunder at the moment?
no, it was weird. I
You
felt
want to
it.
hand over the feed to Ando?
I felt it.
Well,
Um,
I've seen a lot of fireworks stands open, and I'm wondering why.
Fireworks,
Like, yeah, but why are fireworks stands open right now? I mean, 4th of July is kind of 2 months away.
Cinco de Mayo.
Well,
So
okay, that's
it's
it.
2 months away.
Is it Yom Kippur or something?
I do have a lot of Mexicans. No, I was
Well,
like,
it's-
no, yeah,
It's Orthodox
fireworks.
Easter.
Yeah.
But I know that those guys are not lighting up fireworks. Mexicans love fireworks, so maybe that's why.
It's the Mexican. Yeah.
They fucking love fireworks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say it was? Something day? Happy something or other day?
Cinco de Mayo,
Yeah, what is that?
the 5th of May.
Oh, okay. I thought it was some Mexican festival or something. Gotcha.
It is. It is.
It is.
It's
Oh,
it's
okay.
kind of like the
Oh,
4th
and-
of July. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They love to party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just every day, isn't it?
It's Margarita Day, Stella. That's what really
Mhm.
matters.
Yeah.
Margarita Monday. That is for me.
I went to a Mexican restaurant today to enjoy the Cinco de Mayo, and that was very cool. I was offered a doodle puppy, and I wish I could have taken them up on it because doodles are fucking adorable.
Oh, yeah. And they don't drop fur. They're even more adorable for that reason, as far as I know. Lovely temperament. I'd like to have
Yeah.
a dog. This is the longest I've been without a dog in my life, but I can't get a dog because I've got Stumpy.
You've got Stumpy.
Stumpy's your
Come
dog.
on.
We were totally shooting for something that wouldn't shed, but we definitely did not get that.
At least Ando has an excuse. He's a trucker, so
Yeah.
there's that. But also not going to be on your own for too much longer, Ando, and I'm glad to hear it. Anywho,
Same. Very glad.
Yeah,
She gonna mind the homestead or come on the truck? Or
that's a
both?
question.
I
Yeah,
have wondered that.
A little bit of both.
nice.
Yeah. So, yeah, we haven't completely figured that out, but she will be on the truck for a little while, and that'll be great. Yeah.
Till it needs a baby seat.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna need a bigger truck. All
I
right,
saw a little kid's vest in the truck stop, and that was freaking adorable. It was, like that big.
Fun dress ups.
well,
It's really funny when you first have a baby and you do like the first wash load. It's hilarious. I just remember being amazed like how little everything was. It's like the pegs were bigger than the socks, you know. You sort of get used to it real quick, but it's fun the first time.
I love fresh socks.
Yeah, they beat the hell
And
out of
anybody
unfresh
else? Oh yeah,
they do.
but
They do. Yeah. Yeah. Way better.
does
Way
anybody
better.
else like stagger their fresh socks whenever you buy a pack of socks? You sort of go through a couple of them and then add a new fresh sock into the rotation and then save onto them because like the feel of de-virginizing a sock is just one of the best feelings in the world. And
You
anybody
say you
else?
do 1 foot at a time?
one sock at a time.
What else do you do?
I change both my socks at once.
You just got to walk forward,
How?
people, one sock at a time.
When I take a shower, I take them off.
Do you?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, that's a
believe it
good
or not,
call.
I don't take a shower with my socks on.
Oh, you should try
Let's
it.
try that.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't sound good at all.
Don't
No
knock
thanks.
it. Don't knock it till you try it, man.
So I didn't realize I was missing out on this thing because apparently you've all done it.
No.
No.
That's what I
Although
thought.
actually, I've heard
But I will.
it's like a old like flu remedy to like shower with your socks on if you're sick.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nah, that's just...
There's something like
so
that.
I've heard like putting garlic or onions in your
Mm.
socks.
Onions.
That actually
Onions
might
in
have
your
come up in
socks.
the chat recently.
Barbara
Yeah.
O'Neill, which is she's an Australian naturopath who is been banned from practicing in Australia because she promotes very dangerous things like putting onions in people's socks and cayenne pepper tea and stuff like that. I mean, how dare she make people well? So, yeah, she's been touring the earth since, I don't know, 2016 or 17 or something. And there's actually a bit of a thing going on at the moment to try to get Barbara O'Neill to be able to come back and practice here. I mean, most of her family's here too, I think. Anyway, the reason I brought her up is because that's a Barbara O'Neill remedy that's been going around very much lately. And I know it works because the 3 people I've told it to who've been sick. They actually went and tried it and they were really happy the next day that they woke up much better. So it's been a bit of a go-to now. So you can put onions in, which I believe you can put onions in or garlic in, but one of them goes in and the other one draws things out. So depending on what you've got. If you can stand it, you can put a little bit of cayenne pepper in there, but garlic can sort of burn the skin a little bit, so you best to sort of wrap that in a little bit of a paper towel. But yeah, so a couple of slices of onions on your feet, wrap your foot in plastic wrap just to keep them in place, put an old pair of socks on and sleep with that overnight, and it's apparently really good. I haven't been sick since I learned it, so I'm quite happy to stay that way. But
So you live with pretty stinky feet.
yeah, I don't do the onion thing unless I get sick, but I haven't been sick yet. But
yeah, there you go.
3 sick people who did it said, yep, it definitely worked. So there you go.
Nice
and simple. This is what we got to get back to. We have to get back to looking after ourselves. We have to get back to a little bit of basic understanding and education about our bodies and just, herbs, botanicals, things like that we can actually grow. Potato peels are incredible. They do all sorts of things and they're great for burns. They've been using them in the medical industry for a while, actually. So we just got to rediscover that lost kind of knowledge. It's not actually lost, but we have to rediscover it because we've all become so brainwashed and dependent on pharmaceuticals. I mean, how many people do you know that take 20 pills a day to keep the pain down or whatever? They probably don't need most of them.
Did them tube algorithms eventually bring you to this old guy, and he tells you that he's got this book on pioneer recipes and whatnot? Anybody else get into the old ways?
I was just learning how to make biltong.
Oh, well, I'm just saying that because I ordered the book because I figure it's going to have some useful stuff in there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely. Shout out to Keelthor if he ever hears this. Always a big advocate for buying physical media. Buy books. Don't throw your books out.
I gave away a book that was America's medicinal plants, and it's an old book. I can't believe I gave it away, but what can you do? Yeah, I do have others. I've got others, but
I've
I
done
gave
that.
away a music theory book that I really wish I still had.
Yeah.
I gave away a book called A Small Place in the Country, and it was just so good. I had it when I was in Tasmania, and of course, when I left Tassie, I thought, heading back to the city, I probably won't need this. And I really regretted giving it away, so I had to rebuy it. And it was like, $25 or $30 or something. It was like, dang.
Yeah. I haven't even been able to find the one I gave away. I didn't realize
Right.
it was like, I thought it was common. But oh well.
There's one book. I'm just going to run off and grab it. You talk amongst yourselves, but it's called Return to Eden. That's right. Oh, hang on. I'm just going to go and grab it to make sure I'm saying the right thing.
I will say,
Back to Eden, I think, and I have that one too.
Nice. I'm pretty sure I've been enjoying this conversation more than whatever the clip is that we're about to continue.
Yeah, I guess you might be right. You might be right. I don't know, man. It's just crazy. Like he was about to go to the Muslim side.
I'm not
you know
against
what I
you
mean?
continuing it if you want to, but that was
Well-
just something that occurred to me. I like that we end up on these crazy tangents.
Well, tangents are good.
Well,
Yeah, we're in a better place now. So it's called Back to Eden by Jethro Kloss.
Yep,
Highly
I got
recommend
that
that
in
one.
I got that one in my bookshelf too. I haven't read it, but I have it.
I haven't either, but it's not the sort of thing I think you sit down and read cover to cover. It's more of a, I mean, you can, but it's more of a like when things are relevant. If you could read it cover to cover, it'd be awesome.
Before we
Bloody
get in,
Sorry.
go ahead, finish that.
No, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I was
Yeah.
apologizing for interrupting.
Oh,
Thereby
okay.
interrupting at the time.
When we get to it, do you remember, Mike, what Dearborn was like in 2010?
I can't say that I knew about Dearborn ever.
Oh, okay.
It's in Michigan, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever been there.
They just dumped all these people into here.
Really?
Yeah. I mean it's not like it's some sort of secondary mecca or something like that. They dumped all these people in here and culturally completely changed the place.
Yeah, as you know, as unpleasant as some of the topics that we cover can be, it's what we do. It's what we do. Yeah, there apparently is this town in Michigan that is fully Muslim. Not fully, I should correct. But let's go on and we'll come back.
Everyone here is in exile.
Yes, the Jews were in the Holy Land a couple thousand years ago. The Babylonians sort of kicked them out, and they were dispersed to all four corners of the globe.
Where did the expansion happen? Is it downstairs?
No, that's over there.
Oh, it's literally right over there.
Yeah, that plywood over there. You see how it's different than the rest?
Right over there.
Yeah, right there.
Oh, so they sealed it off.
Yeah, they filled it up. They put cement, and people were very upset. They thought it was anti-Semitism. And so you see it's a busy place, and you're not getting the feel of how packed it is. And then the last decade, it's completely grown in size, so you need more room. Obviously, like a lot of stories gets blown out of proportion.
What's one thing you think people misunderstand about Hasidic Jews?
Could be sometimes a person comes over and we're not nice to them. It's not because we're not nice. We try to be nice to everyone, and there's nothing wrong of us. Everyone is different. Yeah, people think that we're closed and we like to live in our community, and the community lives together. We're basically one. We're all one. Everything is for one reason, to make God happy.
What do you think the fundamental source of anti-Semitism is?
Because the Jews are successful and they have a way of thinking in the right direction, and they're successful.
While the Jewish community is seemingly hated more than ever right now, with the exception of the Holocaust, of course, the Muslim community is facing accusations of being homophobic, violent, and terroristic, and this protester in Dearborn recently did not help.
Malcolm X said, and I quote, "We live in one of the rottenest countries that has ever existed on this earth. It's not Genocide Joe that has to go. It's the entire system that has to go."
Quiet struggle over identity is playing out in Muslim communities nationwide, advocates say. Dearborn has been leading the conversation, a model of peaceful coexistence between Christian, Jewish, and Muslim Americans thriving together. Many Dearborners grieved the dead on 9/11/2001. Outsiders have used the city over the past 20 years as a stage for conspiracy theories, bigotry, and hate.
This community has been an epicenter of anti-Muslim hate and xenophobia.
I think Islam hates us.
We got Sanaa, Dr. Khalid, the professional ties. We got everything insulated in the community. We are in Little Middle East out here, which is cool. Shout out the United States of America. This is one of the few places in the world I feel like where you can have a melting pot of all these cultures. Where do you think people got the idea that Islam was a religion of violence and not peace?
That one
fucking president.
George Bush?
Yeah.
There is some hate here and there, but at the same time, you just avoid it.
How is it being a Muslim in 2024?
For me, it's pretty simple, but for the younger ones, it is kind of difficult. I don't know if you guys heard, about a year ago or 2 years ago, there was an incident where books were placed in the library in the private public schools. Nobody knew about it until somebody came on.
Gay books? Like how to have sex, like anal sex with men, or?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
They're not meant to be in public schools.
I see. This is for me? Okay, that's cool. It ended up in my hands. Got a copy of the Quran. I'm going to read this. Thank you so much. This would be cool to see what's going on here. So, should we interview you? We're trying to learn more about the town and the Muslim faith.
Of course. It's peaceful. It's very peaceful. The national media portray Dearborn like not a city in America.
Really?
On the contrary. Everything is like any other city, very diverse. You see a church.
Yeah, we saw the Orthodox, we saw the
You see
Catholic.
the bar. And it's a great city to raise a family. You have Lebanese, Yemenis, Iraqis, as far as Middle Eastern, Palestinians, Jordanians.
It's a melting pot.
Yeah.
You hear a lot of interesting things, especially on Fox News. You get so much hate in the city, but if you come down here, it's honestly one of the most hospitable, lovable communities you'll ever see. People literally follow themselves just to try to help somebody out. It's a great town, great area to raise a family, kids.
Why do you think Dearborn became a Muslim hub?
I think because of the more population of the Arabics, the Middle Eastern. So yeah, most of them they feel like they are back home in the country. You know what I'm talking about? You could see just they walking with scarves. They walking with
It's like a country within a country.
Yep.
I have friends of mine that are Jewish, that are Christian, that are Hindu. Everybody, food brings everybody together, so everybody loves Dearborn.
It's all love out here.
Yes.
So it's not like some warring religious factions against each other.
I don't know. Take a look.
Seems pretty peaceful. We're gonna meet up with our buddy Ahmed.
Which one?
That's a great question. There he is. Ahmed, how you doing? We're trying to meet some locals before you came here.
Nice. I see you came to the right place. Ahmed, how are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, how you doing, man? We're getting treats? Yo, I really appreciate that.
No, you're good, Habibi. Wallah, thank you.
Look at this community. Yeah,
Hospitality is huge, bro.
This is awesome.
Thank you.
Well, both the Jewish and Muslim communities extended extreme hospitality to me and generous gifts like this fedora. Oh, yeah.
So this could be worn brimmed down like that?
That is cool. And free food at this Yemenis cafe. That's good. Bro, this is like a fruit explosion.
Why explosion, man? Come on. Why would you pick that term?
I was even invited to a party where they circumcised the Jewish baby.
Welcome, everybody.
These were complete strangers who let me come to their family gathering and eat their food. We walked in here. You guys tolerated me even walking into this. I'm kind of amazed.
Why would we not tolerate you?
Well, I'm not a Jew.
So what? God created many things in this world. Non-Jews also.
Beautiful thing about the Hasidic community, and specifically this one, is it's a family. Everyone looks out for each other. You're never left alone, because that's what Judaism is about. Caring for each other, looking out for each other, not just Jewish people, but everyone.
Both communities showed me extreme love and kindness, despite the fact that I was a complete outsider. There seems to be a little bit of fear of me, a misrepresentation of Dearborn. Why is that?
Well, I mean, if you take a look at the news right now, for example, with what's going on with the war between Israel and Palestine, if you say you don't want people to be murdered, what can we do to minimize this or stop this? It's like they're throwing that terrorist label out so quick. And I think that's why a lot of people are really cautious, because it's becoming very, to label someone as a terrorist is a very serious crime. It's not a joke by any means. That's where a lot of the fear is stemming from. And I think with the amount of stress that people are facing in this economy, there's not much difference between hopefully my life and any of the viewers' life.
Yeah.
You're pretty much working to pay bills, trying not to get obese. There's not much time to create terrorist activity.
We're joking about that. Is that a real thing out here?
When you see videos where it's like, if you want to support, stop bombing, stop the killing of children, stop, just simmering things down, and then boom, they're labeled as a terrorist. That's kind of crazy, right? That kind of hinders the whole point of free speech. And from my perspective, what you see is, you have certain actions that were committed on both ends between Israel and Palestine. And then you have your war initiated. What people are saying is, hey, it's often for countries to have a back and forth militarily between each other, but to continue an onslaught of children and women and families who are not fighting or not in war, that's where a lot of people, including myself, think the line should be drawn.
Considering all the different stereotypes, hatred, and confusion, I headed to the local mosque to talk with a sheikh to learn more about what Islam was actually really about and what he thought about the current state of the world as it relates to Muslims and Jews. I believe we have a Catholic church, and then we have an Orthodox church right over there. This is a pretty impressive array of very different religions worshiping in very close proximity. This is optimistic right here. This is indicative of some world peace coming soon.
Shoes come off if we're going to the.
Okay.
Allah knew that not all mankind will follow one religion, which is Islam, right? Islam means that to submit peacefully to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yani Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He made things subjected.
Quran mentioned in 900 verses and 163 times the name Moses was mentioned in the book Quran. I think in Gaza, also Christians, all the churches were destroyed. Jews, I can't blame the Jews for that as a Muslim. It's more about the fake political Jews plus fake political Christians plus fake political Muslims. So I don't think the war in the Middle East is between Muslims and Jews.
It is a completely religious war.
But in stark contrast, YouTube's most popular rabbi back in Brooklyn disagreed. Can you explain what's going on in Israel and how that relates to Judaism and Islam, or maybe the differences between those beliefs?
Hamas celebrates the success of their raid. We successfully raped and decapitated babies. That shows that God is on our side and we are the good people. How does that make any sense? The religious issue very simply is Israel is an inheritance. God gave it to Abraham as an inheritance. He made it very clear. For you and your children for all time to come. An inheritance you cannot conquer. The only way that Israel can belong to you is if you inherit. The Muslims believe that they are the inheritors of this land because Abraham's oldest son is Ishmael, and they are descendants of Ishmael.
Is that corroborated by holy texts or the Torah or the Quran? What confirms that belief for them?
Nothing.
Okay.
Imam Ali, when he was giving the final will to his sons, Imam al-Hassan and Hussein, he told them, always stand against the oppressor, and whether they are in Ukraine, Palestinians, Americans that they suffered somewhere, we always stand with these individuals. We are not like aggressive, we are not violent. I expect from the one who has more power to be more wise, to have more strict rules that they abide by and follow.
There are no Palestinian people before 1967. There are Muslims who are Arabs, claim to be descendants of Ishmael, and therefore the land belongs to them. And that's why there will be no two-state solution, because as far as they're concerned, the entire country belongs to them. So what does it mean? Israel will give them Gaza? You're giving me my land? It's insulting. Now, the real
people, man, people. God damn, people are so crazy.
Well, I think this is proof that Muslims can have dad bods too.
that guy's a Jew right there.
You know, there was a few people. I mean, we saw a bunch of different people throughout that montage, but there was a few guys who definitely spent a bunch of time working out too.
Yes, I noticed that. Wow. No, just kidding. Also, I just wanted to comment on, I don't know what the guy's name, the main host guy. I mean, yeah, he was definitely treated well, but I think the fact that he was shooting from open carry camera probably had something to do with that. I just would be really interested. He gets away with a lot because he's got a little bit of an ethnic look about him too. So he kind of he's not like an albino or anything.
He can blend in.
Yeah, and I just
Who
I
is
just
this
wonder,
guy, by the way?
if he had a hidden camera, I wonder whether he would be treated the same.
He's a very good interviewer, isn't he?
I've used a lot of
get. Yeah, we don't get the links. Like whenever I'm putting this thing up, I don't put the links from everything in here because we use like 50 different links throughout the whole thing. But at least we should say who this channel is because it's
yeah.
Who is it?
Go-to.
It's Tyler Oliveria, and he's been doing, from what I can tell. I mean, again, I'm like 5-10% sus of him, but it seems to me that he's just a genuine like YouTube upstart that got into doing like pretty good investigative journalism. And yeah, I use clips from him a lot because I think he's covering the good stuff, you know.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell who's operative and who's not. But either way, I mean, it just, as Monica Perez sort of basically converted me into thinking, shout out Monica, is just, look, take everything with a grain of salt, sort it out with your own discernment. There's probably most of people are operatives to some degree or driven by some sort of agenda. You're never going to know. So, yeah, I guess it's about the information. Just being aware of that is the biggest thing.
Everybody has some unconscious motivations, but I don't think most people are just people and they're misguided, or you could say any number of different adjectives, but
and it's such a shame that what people believe is of such significance to another person. It's like everyone just shut up and believe your own thing, and then we might all get along. But there's a whole bunch of things that people will state that were in the Bible that say, "Oh no, but you've got to go out and save souls and all that." It's like, well, okay, go for it. I'm going to treat it this way.
Well, when it comes to claiming land, people get pretty upset.
Yeah, there's that. I like what the one guy said, which was just stand against the aggressor. Like he was saying, like, whose side are we on? It's the aggressor, like whoever that is.
Yeah,
right?
stand against the aggressor.
Like there's so many different labels under which that comes, but that's basically what it comes down to. And I've found in my life, like I have this tendency toward the underdog, right? And in a lot of ways, that's kind of similar. It's not necessarily the same thing, but it's why it resonated with me, I guess.
Yeah.
Stand against the aggressor.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be really amazing if that just happened naturally? Like it does actually. Like I'm just trying to think about being in the street, and this doesn't involve everybody because not everybody is somebody who's going to step forward for the safety of another person. Some people will just stand by. But I think in general, when there's a situation that you might come across in public, most people are going to run to help the person. They're not going to go, oh, no, I'm not going to help that person. He's a Muslim or it's a Jew, whatever. There's a human being in trouble, and that person, I have the power to assist that person, get this person out of that situation. It's just a natural response to most people, I think. I think it would be very hard not to. So this is sort of like, that's on a small scale. So just imagine if everybody just did exactly that, was against the aggressor. That would be world peace. They call us terrorists. They call them terrorists. They are the terrorists. TM.
I did see apparently 2 million Americans are on like terror watch lists, plural.
Yeah, what, for growing tomatoes or something dangerous like that?
Something like that. Yeah.
Putting onions on your feet?
Yeah.
So why did they send them all here? You know, they sent them all to Dearborn. How did it happen? I would really like a timeline of how Dearborn went from being a white Christian city to, some Muslim city. Just like I would really like I should check into it. I'm going to after the show, but
part of me, Ando, is wondering if this whole meme or this whole psyop of like Islamic extremism, not that it doesn't exist, but like, do I really need to fear the average Muslim? I don't think so.
I think that you need to be concerned whenever your culture is being replaced in an area, and it's happening all over the country in a variety of ways. I mean, like I'm in Texas that is quickly turning into Mexico. You know, that's where I live. It's quickly turning into Mexico.
Oh, there's been places in Sydney
know-
since the 80s and stuff that, are fully Muslim. They're just all Muslim, all Lakemba and that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, because if I went to another country, I would probably migrate towards my own as well, because there's safety in numbers, right? We always naturally go to find our own tribe. I mean, even, big, hefty, scary bikers all find each other. It's a brotherhood, it's just a natural survival instinct.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always tempted to go into the like ecological equivalent. And like in an ecosystem, there are various overlapping and interconnected, communities, families, tribes, so on and so forth. And to me, like, it's a pity when we think there needs to be like such division, when it's not about separation. It's not about, us versus them. It's sometimes it comes down to that, but like it doesn't have to, and like interconnected but distinct groups are totally natural, like it's when we try to, enforce these, you have to live there, I get to live here, and if you come here, well, I mean, it should all come down to private.
They have
personal
a
property.
huge portion of the world. I mean, if you look at where the maps of everything are, there's so many places for Arab type people. There is a shitload of places, a lot of land. And you know what? Dearborn, Michigan does not resemble any shitty desert. It doesn't resemble that in one way whatsoever. They're here for the power that is America. If they gain the political power, they can take over what's going on. They've already got Congress people. They've got people in Congress that they elect. They've got representation. And it only grows from here. And it's like, cool. We're just gonna watch this fucking ship sink with this kind of thing happening.
It is. It's just like a big chess game, all a little, like it's a small percentage of people, but all put in the right places, location, 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 as they say. Chess pieces being put into the right squares.
Strategic immigration is what caused Dearborn to happen. And this is a political agenda, and they dumped it right in a white Christian part of the country.
Yeah, brilliant strategy, because they want to create division. I mean, remember that they're promoting things like embrace diversity, share what you have. But what's the opposite of that? What's the real meaning of embracing diversity? Lose your own community. But of course, it's marketed with lipstick on. Yeah, you're right, Ando. Once all the concentrations, and I mean, people are quite happy living in their little tribes and, getting on. And as they get bigger, they go off and start a new tribe or whatever, and it's all fine. But once
Wouldn't
they start
it make
telling
sense,
us
though,
that
if there was a bunch of Canadian towns in the Midwest? That would make sense. But it seems that the Canadians stay in Canada. It's not like like the edges of the United States that touch Mexico are basically Mexico at this point.
Well, you're bringing up a decent point there, where like there is natural sort of blending, but that's not exactly what we're talking about. When it comes to Israel, that was pretty, it was people from outside coming in and staking a claim, similar to what we're talking about with Dearborn, Michigan. I'm like, there is like a natural way of migration and sort of a unnatural way of migration. And I don't think it's wrong to have differing, cultures sharing a landmass, but it's a delicate balance, I guess.
We're not allowed to homogenize anywhere, but then they allow groups to come in and homogenize somewhere, and that's where
But, I mean,
this doesn't work.
even within like I guess genetically homogenous groups, like even people act like the Native Americans all like skipped through the forest holding hands and like hugging the trees, and it's like, no, they were killing each other left, right, and center, right? Like they
Yep,
had
same here.
right. So we can't have like a fairy tale image of what could be. We have what is, and unfortunately, sometimes things come to violence, I guess. But like, I don't think you have to be homogenous. You have to be cooperative. You have to be interconnected but distinct.
Yeah,
There
I
has
think
to be a form to the community, and anyways, go ahead, Bear. Sorry.
there's a lot more to do with what environment you were born into, and what culture you were raised up with. Like, what is your identity, and how did your parents raise you? You know, um, if you grew up in the same sort of environment, then it's a lot easier to commingle in a community or in a family. Um, and if you grew up in an entirely different culture with entirely different rules, then it's very hard to do that. And yeah, I mean, that's all.
Well, I mean, these cultural enclaves they're not Americans. They're representing their own culture in America and trying to change American culture to their culture.
Well, maybe in a sense we should at least respect the fact that they look after themselves. You know what
And
I
maybe
mean?
we should do a little
There is
bit of that
something- yeah,
ourselves.
they were doing some of
Yeah.
that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it. They have a real sense of community and unity, which has been broken. It's been fractured by design in the Western world. And now that we're shattered in pieces, it's time, their strengths are outdoing our weaknesses. Also by design, but it was just a consequence of that design that we're seeing.
Well, let's carry this on just a bit more. We won't play it all, but this shit is fascinating and important.
Real truth is, there are no descendants of Ishmael.
Why?
Because they're all intermarried. It's just interesting and fascinating. All these people who are marching in the pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas rallies, and they're screaming and they're shouting and they're carrying these banners, then they go home. What do they do when they go home? They forget about it.
Yeah.
They couldn't care less.
Do you think many people believe Islam means terrorism?
I think it's still in the subconscious of a lot of people out there, since as a Muslim, I was in Lebanon when ISIS came to Syria, and we suffered in our capital Beirut from some explosions there because of ISIS. I was able to experience some of their activities. If I wasn't well-educated Muslim that actually I studied the Quran in depth and the words of Prophet Muhammad in his household, I might get a bad image about Islam.
I see.
Because unfortunately it was shocking to see individuals like actually they believe if they bomb themselves they will go and eat lunch with the Prophet. Some of them, they found spoons in their pockets. It sounds funny, unfortunately, and you might cry at the same time, but look at the level of ignorance. Unfortunately, we read some articles saying that a lot of them, these thoughts were instilled inside their heads when they were 6 years old or 7 years older.
The Germans write to Germany.
Sure.
They took it from somebody, and that's fine. Just not Israel. Really even debating this. We beat you up in 67 and we took your land. That's it. That's ours now. And if we beat you up, we'll take Gaza. It'll be ours. Like every other country in the world. No, you're an occupier. We're not occupiers, we're conquerors. Look at what we're fighting over.
A small chunk of land?
It's ridiculous.
Because I believe the world now is being divided into two camps. There is the camp of people that they want peace and justice to happen among all mankind. Those are the majority, to be positive and optimistic. And there is the minority where they are also Muslims. Let me call them fake Muslims, fake Christians, fake Jews. That those individuals, They want to gain themselves the eye, to feel the eye, ego, arrogance, greed. If we had more youth in power, I think things will become more calmer. I hope that the youth of this generation can make a major and big difference in the future and not follow the footsteps of the previous generation. I'm talking about the minorities, that they are just seeking power. Like one of the philosophers, he said, if the human is following his desires, if he owned the world, he will be looking at the skies. So conquering the universe,
Given the importance of the youth, I want to cross the street from the mosque to the middle school where a lot of these kids are at.
Okay, I think that might be a good place to cut that one off. Nothing against the youths, but I don't have a lot of faith.
Well, at least
in the youths.
At least that Jew admits to the Nakba.
Most
of them don't admit to the Nakba, where they basically took over. The Rothschilds bought the land, gave it to them, gave them this small portion, and then they had a Nakba and took over the rest. So at least they admit to it. And
he said, "We beat you up, and we'll beat you up again." Yeah.
Yeah. Back to what I've said many other times, is whenever the Pharisees and the Philistines fight, I just ignore it.
Also, I suppose the answer would be scriptural in the Quran. In the Talmud, or probably the Bible, actually. No descendants. I was just wondering how he knows that there's no descendants from Ishmael. Like, to me, that's like, oh, right. You've done the research. You've seen all the paperwork, have you? You've followed them through the centuries, have you? And that's just a belief system, sir.
No, there were plenty. Abraham visited Ishmael several times and met with his wives. So, Abraham knew what Ishmael was up to. It's in the book of Yasher. Read it. It's like Genesis, only more detailed and doesn't leave a whole bunch of stuff out. I think Genesis is just sort of the summary of Yasher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he made the statement that there are no descendants. So it's like, well, okay, but that's your belief system. So why don't you just keep that as your belief system, and we'll have ours, and we'll just all get along, can't we? Let's plant a garden. Yeah, it's just the whole pushing people's belief systems on other people is just something I just can't get with. I think it's, wrong. It's a force. It's fine if people want to ask questions and get involved or want to know more and seek the wisdom themselves, but stop with the pushing, It just creates wars. I mean, we know that's not what creates wars, but it certainly doesn't. It feeds wars. It's a good excuse for wars. And it is wars, spiritual wars, if we want to go back that far, but that's not what we're talking about right now.
I would say it kind of is.
Sorta, yeah. But it's more just about people, like people being people and coexisting with each other and ideologies and, whether they actually know what they're talking about or believe fully what they're doing or just getting caught up in it is that's another story, It's just human behavior is, I think, more what we're discussing at the moment. Psyche.
Yeah, well, and I do want to kind of go back to men and women, in particular men, I should say, because, if I'm going to tie it together, typically, unless you're Israel, men are the ones fighting war, and I think there's really something wrong with how the West has, I don't know, how do I even say, raised their men or treated, or however you want to say it, but it's just
liberalism.
Yeah, well,
like it grew to the point where it destroys itself because it doesn't have an end. It doesn't have an end. It just gets more and more progressive, more and more liberal, And what happens at the end is nihilism. It's nothing. And there's nothing great to it. And this is why we're fucked, because we put all of our fucking money on liberalism.
Into Marxism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think of the Ouroboros.
I got an early delivery, y'all.
Okay, you got to bounce.
Love
All
you,
right.
guts.
Dude.
Yeah.
As
You too.
we
Seeing
say.
you, man.
Yep.
Catch y'all
take
later.
care,
Yeah,
man.
good to see y'all.
All right, we'll see you,
Babylon
Ando.
Burn.
Bye.
Get them wheels rolling.
Well, we are nearly there. This is like a 1 minute thing, and then I'll show you the meat of what I'm getting at.
Okay, so let's talk about this, right? This is a trending thing right now where women are saying they would rather be trapped alone in the forest with a bear than a man. And this is probably the biggest amount of fear mongering I've ever seen, like just on such a large mass scale. Because did you know that 1 in 500 men will commit a violent crime? Did you know that? Like, you know, the majority of men around you are actually good, right? And you can twist this whichever way you want. But if men were saying this about women, we would round it up to misogyny. We would say you need to get out of your mother's basement. We would say you need to touch grass, right? This is misandry. Misandry is the hatred and the prejudice of men because they are men. And this is feminism's fault, because they turned advocacy for everybody into fear-mongering men and putting women on a pedestal.
A number of people warned me against writing a book about boys and men because it's such a fraught subject, particularly in politics right now, and because so many people were afraid that merely drawing attention to the problems of boys and men was implying somehow less effort being paid to girls and women, that it's framed as zero sum, and it's sort of a whose side are you on question, and you have to be on one side or the other rather than just being on the side of human flourishing. One of the real challenges here is that if there are men missing from certain crucial areas of our society and our economy, that makes it harder for other men and boys to flourish in those areas. We have an education system that has a dearth of male teachers. We have a labor market where the jobs that are growing fastest are ones where we have the fewest men. And in families, there's the growth in what you might call the dad deficit or fatherlessness. As men are struggling in each of those areas, what you'll see is it'll be harder for other men to follow in their footsteps. It's harder for boys to flourish if their fathers aren't engaged. It's harder for men to enter occupations where there aren't men. It's harder for boys to do well at school where there are no male teachers to be seen. And so there's a very real danger that unless we act quite soon, that we will set in train something of a vicious cycle. I'm Richard Reeves. I'm a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution. And my latest book is Of Boys and Men, Why the Modern Male is Struggling, Why That Matters, and What to Do About it. The overall picture is that on almost every measure, at almost every age, and in almost every advanced economy in the world, the girls are leaving the boys way behind, and the women leaving the men. What nobody expected was that girls and women wouldn't just catch up to boys and men in education, but would blow right past them and keep going. Everyone was very focused, quite rightly, on getting to gender equality, getting to gender parity. It's not that long ago where there was a huge gender gap the other way, and there was huge focus, correctly, in the 70s and 80s to really promote women and girls in education. But the line just kept going. And nobody predicted that. Nobody was saying, what if gender inequality reemerges in just as big a way as now, in some cases bigger, but the other way around? And to some extent, everyone's still trying to get their head around this new world where, at least in education, when you talk about gender inequality, you're pretty much always talking about the ways in which girls and women are ahead of boys and men. And that's happened in a very, very short period of human history. So if you look at the US, for example, in the average school district in the US, girls are almost a grade level ahead of boys in English and have caught up in math. If we look at those with the highest GPA scores, the top 10%, 2/3 of those are girls. If we look at those at the bottom, 2/3 of those are boys. When it comes to going to college, there's a 10% gap in college enrollment, a similar sized gap in completing college, conditional on enrolling. And the result of those trends is that the gender gap in getting a college degree is now wider than it was in 1972, but the other way around. So in 1972, when Title IX was passed to promote more gender equality in education, there was a 13 percentage point gap in favor of men getting college degrees. Now there's a 15 percentage point gap in favor of women getting college degrees. So the gender inequality we see in college today is wider than it was 50 years ago. It's just the other way around.
Can we pause it there for
There's
a sec,
quite a
please?
fierce debate about the difference.
There it is again, 1972. Promoting gender equality sort of came into view, so to speak.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, this
Civil
is, I
rights
mean, this.
movement.
Yep, and Fabianism certainly went into the spotlight as well. Bob Hawke, the Prime Minister at the time of Australia, was a Fabian. But, you know, what they're doing, it's sort of like what's happened. Let's look at Australia, okay? So there was an incident and we got, not fully, but we got largely disarmed. It's certainly very much harder to own a gun now, unless, you know, you've got land or you know someone with land or whatever. You've got to have a good reason. What they're doing by destroying the maleness, they're disarming the human race because they know that, you know, women will be pretty easy to overtake. Women are always looking for, you know, and I'm speaking real general here, looking for the protector, you know, let's face it. We all have our jobs. The man is the protector, the woman is the nurturer by, you know, basic roles. If
But-
there's no protector,
They're rejecting some of them, not all, but some of the young women via conditioning are rejecting the protector. They prefer someone less formidable because they've been conditioned to fear the men in their own lives. You know,
100%. That's what I'm saying. That's all
Yeah.
part of the plan and the narrative. So now we have women doing that. It's crazy.
Mhm.
You know, and like I said before, that little short video that was on before with that girl, I think, you know, she mentioned that feminism was kind of in the kickoff with this. That's what I said before, and I sort of wonder a little bit about my mind has sort of gone to the pill, you know, with the estrogen, progesterone mucking around stuff, and then not only that, but you also get the women who they don't want to have a period that month because they're going out on a hot date or whatever. So you just keep taking the pill and you don't take the sugar pills. So therefore you don't have a period. And some women do that for months after month after month. And it's just like, whoa, man. Like, whoa, man, woman.
And
that is.
If you're taking, you know, a hormone, maybe that might explain why you might have an attraction for more effeminate males. As if, you know, maybe if you weren't on the pill, you know, like
Well, what I'm saying is it certainly would have played part of the role. It would have been part of the tool.
Certainly could. I don't know. It really does fascinate me that there are women that proclaim to be attracted to a very effeminate type of male, which is what we watched earlier, right? I don't doubt her honesty. She thinks the gay guys are hot. You know.
But let's think about this too. Just on the subject of the pill.
Yeah.
Now you've got that came into being in the 60s, widely used in the 60s. That's what 70s, 80s, 90s, 50-ish years ago, 5 decades. What's that? About 3 generations now, pretty much. How much did that mucking around with the hormones do to the next generation, and then the generation after that, and I think, you know, I haven't heard anyone really bring contraception into much question, actually. Might be something that would be worth a bit of a look. I don't know. Not by me. I'm not a medical person, but it's just something that I sort of wonder about. It would have to have had come into play because also the pills, when they first came out, they were really strong, and then they sort of got, you know, fine-tuned over the years, so to speak. Well, that's what they say.
Yeah.
So,
I think people are starting to question, but really they just threw that shit out like Tic Tacs. I'm pretty sure both of my sisters were on it like early.
Yep, it was just what mums kind of did out of fear.
Yeah.
rather than education the right way or whatever.
Yep.
It was just
Yep.
like, I mean, look, I'll tell you, my mum did. I think I was about 13 or 14 when she
Mm.
put me on the pill. And it was not something that was really, I don't hold it against her or anything. It's just she was a working single mum. She didn't have time to deal with anything that was going on. And it was like I wasn't even, there was no reason to really, because I wasn't
Right.
active or anything at that point. But the time was coming, and she could also see some of my friends because my friends were a bit older. So yeah, I mean, she wasn't silly, but it was a fear thing, I think, and just
Well,
a inconvenient thing.
I
We
knew
talk-
a bunch of girls who got it on it for period suppression, basically.
Yeah,
there's
that's
that as
what
well.
they were sold it on that.
Yeah.
And
Helps
it'll
with period pain, they'd say.
and it'll keep your acne away and this,
Yep.
that, and the other.
Well, and
Yep.
I think it did help with the period pain.
Yeah.
So
Probably. I don't know.
But what else does it do? I mean, so like
Exactly.
we
Yeah,
talk about the COVID jabs as like a crime against humanity. Is the pill maybe not
well, there's
Exactly.
all
up for
kinds of-
discussion?
there's so many crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You start
Insert
looking
crime
for
here.
'em, and you find them wherever you look.
Mm.
Yep. You could look in a packet of Frosties
Well,
and find
you know,
crimes.
supposedly that shit's like accumulating in the water supply.
Contraceptives.
Birth control.
Everything
Yeah.
is. Everything is.
The
Right.
fluoride in the water. Talk about a crime against humanity, man.
Mm.
All the prescription drugs, SSRIs, which don't even work anyway. Yeah, the list is endless. Whatever people are taking,
Yeah.
Well, where
which
do
is
you
then
think
being recycled, and
Dow
we drink it.
Chemical and Monsanto.
where do you think all these mass shooters are coming from? I bet you 90 some, I'm going to say 99% are probably on SSRIs or at the very least some psychotropic. It's the one thing they don't want to talk about.
Yep, and I think maybe some of the MK Ultra stuff, even though I'm not doubting at all that it was real, I
drugs.
just don't know. I think that's sort of
Yeah.
maybe a bit of a red herring in the sense of get your eyes off the drugs. It was MK Ultra.
Well, MK Ultra and drugs go together like peanut butter
Yeah,
and
they do.
jelly.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But I just wonder, I wonder a lot of damn things.
Well, and a lot of disenfranchised men are, you can't breed a mass shooter without these sad sacks of men, looking for, because what does a man need? He needs a purpose. That's all.
Well, let's explore
This is
that
between-
because I'd like to
Yeah.
know, actually, what does drive a man? Let's talk about this. Men? 2 to 1? Let's talk about it. I'm serious. What
Well,
drives a man?
I mean, to me, it's the feeling of being needed, useful, like I'm serving something, like I'm accomplishing something. I don't know. I'm just speaking for myself, but
Yeah, I like to accomplish things for sure.
Yeah.
Accomplishing things is big, and yeah, like having my wife and my puppy and stuff to come home to, that's really also something that, like, and it's something that I've built, like building things. I love building things, whether it's, and that can be taken in so many different ways in any direction, but yeah, building things, building songs, but yeah, I don't know.
what about
I also
destroying?
just
Are you a destroyer?
dude? That is actually something that so I definitely get like the rage aspect, and I have had like times where I just need to punch something or whatever, but I can put it into a couch, but the destruction, like the artistic destruction, it hurts me a little bit. I don't like actually destroying things. Like it hurts me a little bit because someone put a lot of effort into creating that thing, or God put a lot of effort into creating it. Like I don't want to destroy beauty,
Yeah. That I'd say there's sort of a bit of a divide, isn't it? Because you've got those blokes who just love to blow things up, whatever.
It's not
But
really
then,
that cool.
yeah, right. So there you go.
I think it's within every man to destroy. It's a matter of whether or not they want to or will if necessary. You
Well, I
know,
will say I am a hunter, so there is
Right.
a way that I take a thing's life. That's destroying a thing of beauty.
Yeah, well,
But that's provision, though.
I also
Right, well,
put
so
it to
I've
good use and try to create things of beauty out of it as well.
I've hunted a little, and I've had a few mercy kills where, you know,
Dude, those suck. That ruins
and
your
they're the
day.
worst.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to destroy it.
No.
You just feel like you should, and you know that you could, and if you don't,
Yeah. You had your dog catch something recently, right? I've had
yeah,
that.
he killed it real quick.
Yeah.
I've had 3 or 4 mercy kills myself. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I hate that. It's so hard. But that's living in the country. It's all part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys were just sort of, I was just listening to what you guys were saying initially, like first impressions.
Yeah, we got railroaded from your original question for sure.
No, I don't think we did. The question was like, what is it to be a man? I think
Yeah.
creation and destruction. I
These
hate to
decisions.
use the
It's
word
these
creation.
decisions. Like honestly,
Yeah,
if there's one
but-
thing that like defines me, it's the decisions I make when an actual decision comes by.
Yeah, yeah.
Which in my day-to-day life, I don't really like. There's decisions, sure, but they're minor and non-relevant in a lot of ways. But then there's other relevant ones where they stand out in my mind, and it's like, oh, that defines who I am. And if I don't do the right thing, then I'm gonna.
Yeah. You know, I just want to say I kind of prefer the term building, as you put it, as opposed to creating. I don't know. It's a small thing, but like out of
Okay.
respect for the creator, if you will. I don't know. Like men can build, men can destroy. I don't know that we can create. Even things like art. It's like that's a strong word, you know.
Well,
But,
that's creation for sure.
but even still.
How's art a strong word?
No, creation.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I think maybe we build art, but
I see
I
what
don't
you
know.
mean. It's
I'm
like
splitting hairs. I feel like Stella had something to say that we stepped on.
No, not at all. I'm just listening.
Yeah.
The word that I come back to is basically purpose. Yeah. We all need a purpose, and that's not just men. That's just generally being a human being. And purpose and place, because creation comes under purpose, really, and decision making comes under purpose, and they've got the victory of making those decisions, which then affirm your purpose. So I think it all comes down to purpose, and you know, what's the opposite of purpose? Hopelessness. So I guess as long as we're creating something, and maybe we have a place, then we've got a purpose.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
A woman. That was a bad joke. Sorry.
Male
it's
and
worth a
female
try.
brains. And in adulthood, I think there's not much evidence that the brains are that different in ways that we should worry about or that are particularly consequential. But where there's no real debate is in the timing of brain development. It is quite clear that girls' brains develop more quickly than boys' brains do, and that the biggest difference seems to occur in adolescence. So what happens is in adolescence, we develop what neuroscientists call the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex of our brain is sometimes known as the CEO of the brain. It's the bit of your brain that says you should do your chemistry homework rather than going out to party. It's the bit of your brain that says it is worth maintaining a high GPA because it will help you get to college, which might help you in the future. And that bit of the brain develops considerably earlier in girls than in boys, between 1 and 2 years earlier, partly because girls go into puberty a bit earlier than boys, and that seems to trigger some of this development. What that means is that if you have an education system that rewards the ability to turn in homework, stay on task, worry about your GPA, prepare for college and so on, then just structurally, that's going to put at an advantage the group whose brains have developed earlier in those particular areas. And that turns out on average to be girls. I think it's a great irony of women's progress that by taking the brakes off women's educational opportunities and aspirations, we've revealed the fact that the education system is slightly structured against boys and men because of these differences in the timing of brain development. But it took the women's movement to show that, because the natural advantages of women in education were impossible to see when women's aspirations were being capped by a sexist society. Now that those caps have been largely removed, we can see that it's boys and men who are at a disadvantage in the education system towards success, and less emphasis on vocational training. And that has actually put boys and men at a disadvantage. So apprenticeships, technical high schools are actually a really good way to help more boys and men. I think one of the challenges with this debate is that if you're talking to women and men who are, say, at the top of the economic ladder, 4-year college degrees, decent incomes, they look around and they don't see some of these issues. But that's not the same for working class men. That's not the same for men lower down the economic ladder. So there's a danger that we're so busy, to borrow Sheryl Sandberg's phrase, so busy leaning in that we don't look down. The reality for men further down the ladder is very different. The economic trends for men have turned downwards along 4 dimensions. One is wages. Most men today earn less than most men did in 1979. In employment, with a drop in labor force participation of 8 percentage points, which means 9 million men now of prime age are not working. We've seen a drop in occupational stature, and so there are now more men working in employment areas which are seen as lower status than they were in the past. And we've also seen a drop in the acquisition of skills, the kinds of skills and education that boys and men need. If boys don't get educated and men don't get skilled, they will struggle in the labor market. And across all of those domains, we've seen a downwards turn for men in the last 4 or 5 decades. And so the way in which social class divides have opened up, economic inequality has widened, is really important to understand in the context of gender inequality. If we only focus on gender gaps, then we miss the fact that both men and women at the top have done increasingly well, but that's much less true of everybody else, and especially it's less true of those from lower income backgrounds, working class boys and men, and black boys and men. You see many of those trends are amplified, and so those boys and men are really at the sharpest end of many of the social and economic changes. On the one hand, we have a huge and successful and laudable effort to get more women into STEM jobs, so science, technology, engineering, and math. On the other side, we have what I call HEAL jobs. So that's health, education, administration, and literacy, almost, if you like, the opposite side of the coin to STEM jobs. And that's where a lot of the jobs are coming from. Health and education alone are huge and growing sectors in the US. And so by my estimates, for every 1 job we're going to create in STEM between now and 2030, we're going to create 3 in HEAL jobs. But those jobs are at least as gender segregated as STEM jobs, but in the other direction. And unlike STEM, becoming more so over time. So if you look at the HEAL sector, only 24% of the workers in those sectors are male, and that number is falling. And in particular sectors, we're seeing a really precipitous drop in the number of men. We have a drop in the number of male teachers. We have a very sharp drop in the number of male psychologists. That's dropped from 39% male to 29% male in the last decade alone. And among psychologists under the age of 30, only 5% are male. So we roll that forward, and we're going to see psychology becoming essentially almost an all-female profession. So these jobs, which are both crucial, I think, for society, and where it'd be very useful to have more diversity, are actually becoming more gender segregated. And so we have absolutely no effort to get more men into HEAL jobs, which is where I think the future lies and where we should be helping men to move.
I hope I don't sound like an asshole, but it kind of frightens me to think that all psychiatrists might end up females.
I don't think, there needs to be balance in everything. Everything always comes down to balance. Everything does. Like, it doesn't matter what you talk about.
Well,
it always comes down to balance.
If only for the sake of, like, it's easier for a man to understand a man oftentimes, not all the time, but oftentimes. And
for sure.
Right? Like,
well, it's like me going to a male gynecologist. I mean, hello, that doesn't make sense to me at all.
There's a lot of male gynecologists.
I know there's a lot, and I'm not putting I'm not saying that there shouldn't be, but for me personally, it's sort of like, well, you've only got 2 holes, mate. How are you going to know what the third one's meant to do? You can imagine it. It's a belief system for you, but we're living the dream.
We've got.
I feel
at
like
least
there are a lot of male
3 holes.
jobs that they're not accounting for. Like maybe men are just going to go back into the more male jobs because a lot of the jobs that they were talking about were more feminine jobs. And there are a lot of bullshit jobs too, as far as office jobs. Like, I don't know. I think making shit is more important than having an academia job or like psychologist or whatever, like a lot of that stuff to me is just kind of not real.
Well, maybe the fact that men are not going to college as much is partly because college has become less valuable. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it ever valuable for anything other than brainwashing and
It
the
seemed
narrative?
a pretty
Because
academia-centric worldview that he was coming from.
Yeah.
Mhm. True.
Because Bear, you heard, was it you? Yeah, I think it was you that was saying that you heard the Dr. What's his name that I put up on the WTF feed the other day, the really long one about the light in the cells and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember his name now. Dr. Jacob or something? No, whatever. Anyway, yeah.
I'm not remembering either, sorry.
Never mind.
If I say something that might be the wrong one, I don't want to do that.
Let's move on.
But it was on that Rick Rubin's telemetrogrammation show or whatever the hell it's called. I'm probably getting it.
Terrametrogron or something. Yeah.
Tetragrammation.
Rob's just going, you bloody
Look up one of those things and you'll figure it out.
Tetragrammaton, I think it is.
We need to get into some sciencey shit with Rob. I got to talk him into coming on. It's been too long.
Well, he's creating and being productive and having a purpose.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
but there's a little bit of purpose that he's here too. So
can't blame him. Yep.
Be good to have him on. Yeah, for sure. Talk about some of this.
Miss Crazy Uncle Rob.
Yeah. Yep. Life of the party.
He's got a lot of interesting stuff. A lot of interesting knowledge. Actually, I heard him mentioned on Grammarica recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
He sent something to them in their chat about these like generator kits where you can have an electric charge put onto like a diesel engine or something. It keeps the diesel engine running at a certain RPM, which makes it more efficient, and so it's a whole fucking whole thing, man.
He's wicked. He's wicked smart. I wish golly, he sends stuff into the chat and I'm like, I just don't have the bandwidth to even grasp what this means, but yeah, I need Rob to explain it to me. I always ask Rob lots of questions because I'm like, I need you to dumb this shit down, please. Yeah.
He does it very well, actually.
He does.
In a comical way, too. Yeah, what he's doing with his VR headset thing looks pretty awesome. I suppose you've seen some of those clips. It just, the way he describes it too, it's like this immersive way of designing things. I mean, it's very tempting to do that sort of stuff, isn't it? It's like, just try this whole new world. But see, he's doing it in a really productive way. He's not just doing it for the hell of doing it. Like
right.
A lot of people just dumbing down and getting immersed in virtual reality for the sake of it. I suppose, it's entertainment. I'll put it under the entertainment banner, but again, back down to balance. When entertainment becomes full immersion or obsession or whatever, there's a problem.
I'm pretty immersed in this podcast right now.
This one we're doing right now, right? You're not listening to someone else.
Multitasking.
Just making sure.
The modern man.
Well, let's wrap this part up. I don't really have anything after this, but we can always open it up. But this male inequality thing, I'll say real quick, and I may have mentioned this in the past, but I remember in high school I was supposed to write a persuasive essay on like a controversial topic, and I chose reverse sexism In other words, like sexism against men. And I mostly focused on divorce court. You know, at the time, I don't think the pattern was so clear that like college admissions, and man, if I had had my eyes wide open, I might have wrote the essay on discrimination against white men in particular, you know, especially in college admissions, because apparently that's a big thing. And this video does not go into that, but I've seen some stuff lately about, you know, I saw a video of a guy. I might be able to find it actually. I won't give it away. Let me play this first, and we'll go on.
One of the problems that we face is what I call in the book a dad deficit. And that can be seen in various different ways. So 1 in 4 fathers don't live with their children. If parents split up, they're much more likely to lose contact with their fathers and with their mothers. And so 1 in 3 children, if their parents split up, don't see their father at all after a few years post the separation. So this fatherlessness is something that's very, very specific. And when 4 in 10 children are born outside marriage, and most children to less educated parents are born outside marriage, then we have to reinvent what it means to be a father. Because right now, men are still being held to an old standard of what it meant to be a successful father in a world where that is neither possible for many of them or even desirable. Because what we've seen is as women have grown in economic power and economic independence, then of course they're going to choose to be with a man rather than being forced to, as in the old days. This is probably the greatest liberation in human history, honestly, that women can now choose whether to be with a man or not. More than 2 out of 5 households in the US now, a woman is the main breadwinner. 40% of American women earn more than the average man. These are huge economic changes and all for the good, but it does pose some really sharp questions about what fathers are for. And until we escape the obsolete model of the breadwinner father, then we will continue to see more and more men being left out of family life. And the kicker is that boys in families that don't have a father presence suffer much more than girls. And so then what happens is that male disadvantage can become intergenerational, because if the fathers are struggling and therefore not really involved in their kids' lives, then the boys are the ones who suffer most, who will then go on to struggle themselves in education and the labor market. It's clear by now that marriage and social institutions and a sense of purpose matter to men. And so as we've seen these real challenges faced by men in education, work, and family, you're seeing some really difficult and troubling health consequences. And so the so-called deaths of despair from suicide, overdose, or alcohol, 3 times higher among men than among women. Suicide itself, 3 times higher among men and women, and rising very quickly, especially among middle-aged men and younger men. So we can see these as symptoms, I think, of a broader malaise, which is what's troubling boys and men. And for men in particular, this sense of purpose is very important. I think it's a human universal that we need to be needed. There's a wonderful piece of work by an academic called Fiona Shand, who looked at the last words that men had used to describe themselves before committing suicide or attempting suicide. And the top of the list were worthless and useless. I think if we create a society in which so many men do feel like they're not needed, then it's no surprise that we see these deaths of despair. We see problems with opioids. Opioids are a much bigger problem for men than they are for women. And one of the great tragedies of opioid deaths is the death rates are higher in part because the users are on their own. And so in some ways, the opioid epidemic is a perfect illustration of a whole series of things we're talking about, which is a loss of role in the family, a loss of status in the labor market, turning to drugs, and being isolated and withdrawn. And so in that example, I think you can see a symptom of this broader male malaise that we just need to take it more seriously. And we have a cultural responsibility as a society, men and women together, to help men and boys to adjust to this new world. Because right now, many of them are really struggling.
Yeah. I don't know. I see it. I see it. I see men getting kind of kicked down little by little. I see a lot of married men being belittled and emasculated and I don't know, almost abused by their wives. It seems like the pendulum swung, right? Go figure.
Always does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like choice and free will. So it always screws up everything, doesn't it? Which is sort of symbolized by Eve in the Garden of Eden with the apple. The curiosity of getting more knowledge and being more independent and having free will. So sort of that's the symbology. Screwed up everything. Should have just been trustworthy and faith, whatever. But it's sort of like, yeah, it's all just snowballed from there, really. Like, not saying from the Garden of Eden, but from all these ideologies that have been introduced into the psyche that, to divide and then conquer. It's such a long-term investment. And every generation's suffered from it as well. I mean, authorities have always used divide and conquer, haven't they?
Yeah, they certainly have. And my only reaction to the video is pretty much like, what are we gonna do about it, right?
Do you guys have like men's sheds, that kind of thing?
Oh, like a man cave?
I don't know.
Or-
It's sort of like maybe once a month, old blokes who are retired and have no purpose left in life, have lost their partners probably. Well, think they have, lost their partners, maybe just a bit lonely, whatever, and they've got these skills that they're not putting to any use. So they all get together maybe once a month or something. Often it'll be like, under the guise of the Lions Club or something like that.
Yeah.
Freemason Lions Club, all that. But there's a good side to the community side of it.
Yeah.
And they come and they share, and so young men can go there and have mentors and make stuff, and maybe ladies in the community who've got something broken. Would you fix my chair, please?
Right.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Do you guys have that?
My grandparents benefited from the Lions Club because my granddad needed a couple things like a wheelchair and a walker.
Yep.
I think he might have. I'm not sure if they provided it, but he ended up having like a bed in the house, which was from somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Might have been the Lions Club. Yeah, they had that kind of stuff. They had it all like stashed in a trailer. It was great. It was very helpful.
It works for everybody because it gives those, the older men, they're sharing their skills that might be sort of getting a bit lost perhaps too, like using hand drills instead of a power drill, for instance. I bought myself a hand drill.
Me too.
And I showed, I've got a couple of them. They're hard to find. They're like rare as hen's teeth. And I showed one to a young person and he looked at it and went, "What's that?"
Right? Yeah.
What? No, really? So that's a bit of a shame.
It's like a fancy corkscrew.
Yeah.
For beer, is it?
Yeah.
Right. Looks like a torture device.
Brilliant.
Well, just to wrap up this thought, this is less than a minute. But apparently this dude was valedictorian and had I don't know how this is even possible, but a 5.09 GPA, very good ACT score. And he's, white kid. And he's basically just reading. This is a reaction video. Again, supposedly. This could be bullshit. I don't know. But he's reading and reacting to all the rejections that he gets from all these, Ivy League colleges.
Did I get into Harvard? No. Just give me something, guys. No. Did I get in Columbia? Dude, I must have done something seriously wrong. Did I get into Stanford University? No! You guys think I got into MIT? I think we got it. I did get rejected from MIT. Did I get into Duke University? No. I gotta get into one of these, dude. Did I get in to Rice University? Wow, guys. This tab was leaking my address. Oh, crap. Oh, shit. Did I get into Harvard?
You know, again, I don't know if that's real, but like you almost
I don't
feel
know how much extra credit you have to do to get a 5.09.
5.09.
But just saying, if I was taking those applications and I saw that GPA, I'd throw it out right away because I'd be like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, maybe that's his problem. Well, yeah. Have a
Oh, yeah,
3
he should dumb himself down to get into
have a
school.
3.9. Have a 3.9 and check the box that says Hispanic or something. I don't know. Native American.
Trans, they.
They, them.
Be a
Yeah.
they. You'll get in.
Yeah.
Put some lipstick on and some horns and some high heels. No problem.
Yeah. Furry. Go with furry.
Yeah, furry. Yeah, that's a definite in.
Go with bear.
They'll even provide your own sandbox.
The women will like you if you're a bear.
Yeah. They'll like you. They'll like you more. You got a better chance, bud. Just dress up like a bear.
There we go.
You know what?
Life's way simpler that way.
God,
Yogi Bear is my pin-up boy.
It all comes full circle as usual. You know, I hate to do it, but
what do you think, Boo Boo?
I think I actually have a lot of respect for the dad bod attitude, even though I kind of presented it as like they're kind of making fun of dads and just men. But like the fact that men have embraced the dad bod, I actually think it's kind of a good thing. You know, fuck it. We got bellies. We're men.
Yeah, it's I don't give a shit, and I'm not going to go to the gym just to prove anything to anyone. If these women don't like me for me, they can get stuffed.
Bingo.
That's the ad.
Yep. So I do want to play you the rest of this song because it is pretty damn catchy.
Girl, what you need, I got it. Every kind of craving you have. You ain't gotta walk or look too far, cause baby, I'm your snack. Don't know if you heard, but you ain't the only one with curves. Yeah, I got a dad bod, oh my God, ain't gotta be hungry to eat. Hot dog, it's a full-time job, living good when you're with me. I like a cold beer with my pizza. I like my tacos and tequila. You only live once, so I do what I want, and I want to keep working hard on my dad bod.
All right, probably good enough there.
I don't want to bring down the mood or anything, but I think it's also because we're unhealthy and fat, and that's why the dad bod is becoming popular. It's like, you can be healthy and fat.
I was going to say before, actually, I didn't want to bring down the mood either, but yeah, I mean, this, you know, you got the pizza, your beer, it's like modern life, fast food. We all know it's almost like a resignation. We're giving in.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
You know, when I was doing my prep work, I couldn't help but notice a connection between two different dad bod songs that I was debating between, and it was the pizza and beer. Let me just show you like a minute of this one, because the dad bod thing could be a full-blown psyop.
Pay for the VIP pass at my gym, then don't go. I don't go. Don't go. I don't go. Yeah, I used to wanna be thin like all my friends, but I'm dope. Yeah, I'm dope. Yeah, I know. Hey. I eat this pizza with extra cheese. Sunday from Mickey D's. Working that recipe. My socks up to my knees. Complain about the heat. How about that weather? Hey, gonna be cold tonight. Don't forget your sweater. They say you can't have this body if you don't have kids. Kids. Well, I'm just doing what I want. That's the way that I live. I got this dad bod, you mad, bro? They scream, talks off, that's on me. I'm so free, not sorry. Ooh la la, dad bod, you mad, bro? They scream, talks off, that's on me. I'm so free, not sorry. Ooh la la.
Okay, so the thing of it was, neither of the songs were really all that good, but I felt the need. Dad bod, man. It's a funny concept, and I don't know, man. It's like glorifying the chubby, harmless, cuddly teddy bear guy. There's something going on there.
I don't think they really have.
There's nothing wrong with a dad bod. I'm saying, why is it being pushed?
Just a bit of burly, a bit of distraction. mop up a few of the loose ends that aren't, they just sort of might be wandering around like the zombies, wandering around looking for the next thing. Here's something.
Well, or make the American male less of a threat. Make him a little
Sometimes
doughy.
Amazed at the amount of production that goes into a shitty song.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
just to make a
exactly.
music video, it's like we're gonna make a music video first, and then we'll maybe have some music to go along with it.
Yeah. And we're gonna rent a huge yacht.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, it's like starving musicians can do that when they're just, scratching around from making music,
Toads.
Yeah. But, I give him points for wearing the budgie smugglers. I've got to say that.
You mean a banana hammock?
So what do you call them? The
I
swimmers.
said
banana hammock's good.
Banana hammock.
Banana hammock, right? Haven't heard that one. Okay.
A speedo. I don't know. It was something. It was gold. I know that much. I tried not to look.
It was,
Up
it
here,
was
up here.
mostly covered
Up
up
here,
by
sunshine.
the belly anyway. So.
All I could see was the belly. I focused on the belly and up. Yeah.
That's all he can see too. It's been
Right.
years since
Yeah,
he's
for
seen
sure.
it.
Exactly.
Probably before he was a dad.
Well, guys, I hope I didn't lead us on a silly tangent here. I feel like it has something to do with something. Dad bods and bears and happy Cinco Day, whatever the fuck.
It's certainly not slapping the white male on the back, is it?
No, and once again, I'm not trying to be the people that talk about the same thing everybody's talking about. I know we talked about Israel and Palestine and whatnot, but I don't know. People just being people out there, and people be dumb. People be hateful. People be fucking fat. I don't know, like
People going people.
people going people, and all I know how to say is what the fuck.
What the fuck?
What
I got
the
no
fuck?
I got nothing. I got nothing else.
I mean, I learned that pandas are fake today, but apparently none of the
And
videos
gay?
unfortunately the videos I posted, I guess you guys can't see. I just figured that out. So,
If you scroll up, yeah.
check
If
out
Mike
some.
scrolls up,
Owen
wait.
Benjamin.
the private chat.
Pandas
Yeah.
are fake? Is this the
Yeah.
shape of water? No.
No,
the
there
private
was
chat.
that. Yeah, that was about bestiality. We don't need to go back there at all.
No, let's not. Let's never ever go back there ever
Oh,
again.
Right?
Please
Is it in the Telegram?
let me know in advance.
Well, no. It was like I tried to share a
In the private chat
link,
of
I guess,
StreamYard,
and
dude.
it didn't work. Just put
I
it
don't
that
see
way.
it.
Put
I don't
that
see
way.
it.
Don't
Yeah.
worry about it. It
Okay.
might not work.
Okay.
Because I
Next
put it
time then.
in. I put it in the StreamYard chat, but I tried to click on it in the StreamYard chat and it wouldn't work for me. So
I see it. I see it, and it does not work.
Telegram link.
Unfortunately,
Yes. You have to
and
be
it wasn't
in
from
there.
our
You have
chat
to be part of
either,
the club.
so, yeah.
Gotta hate that.
But yeah, there's some fun stuff about pandas being fake, and I love it. I thought it would be fun to bring in. I'm sorry, I'm totally botching it right now.
Well, I don't know. Panda's fake. Let's see if I find something.
Apparently,
You should
there's
be able to
no-
Google it.
Apparently, there's no record of them in ancient Chinese history. Like, there's no year of the panda or panda art
Really?
from thousands of years ago. But
Pandas
this
are
is from
psyop?
I'm hearing this from a TikToker, and I do not take it very seriously.
Well,
Okay, I found-
pandas are a bear, so if I was stuck in the woods, panda or man, I'd go manda.
Well, okay. When the question
Bit of
was
both.
asked, I couldn't help but think about koala bears. I'm like, not one of these bitches was smart enough to say, well, what kind of bear? Like a grizzly or a
Yeah.
koala?
Good point.
I could probably
Or a
live with
teddy.
I could probably live with a koala, you know.
Actually, koalas aren't bears; they're marsupials. Just to be clear.
Oh, to be clear.
In fact, years ago, because they were always called koala bears, and then years ago, it was like it became illegal to say koala bear. It's just koala,
No,
motherfucker.
it became illegal. It's hate speech
Yep.
against
It did.
koalas.
Yep. And
Notice
the
I
only way
didn't
you can
say
say bear
koala
is
bear.
if you put drop in front of it, and then it's accurate.
Okay, I am curious about this panda thing. I was about to play the Pat McAfee show. We've covered Pat McAfee in the past, but it's literally titled Pat McAfee Show Dissects Conspiracy Theory that Pandas Aren't Real for 13 minutes. That's a long time.
That's a long time.
So let's go with pandas are a scam.
This episode is sponsored by CuriosityStream and Nebula. Get both for just $15 a year. As of 2014, there were something like 1,800 giant pandas left on this Earth, to which every Redditor, in all of their supreme intellect and originality, will jump in and remind us that actually, even pandas themselves aren't trying very hard to continue their species. So why should we, at the cost of millions and millions of dollars? Couldn't that money be used for a better purpose, like ending world hunger or buying GameStop? Pandas are just lazy and dumb, they quip. Now, while I agree with the first point, more on that momentarily, I take issue with the second, something I emphasize not just for the purpose of distinguishing my superior analysis with the feeble-minded common Reddit folk.
Okay, apparently this is not the same. This is that they're a scam and not that they're not real. So let's give... Apparently they're just a ripoff. This guy's claiming they're real, but they're a ripoff. Let's give Pat McAfee
Not a good investment.
No,
No, no.
bad ROI on the
Damn, I'll
panda.
have to pull my money out of that one.
Yeah.
Well, if it wasn't for pandas,
you
we'd
had
be
happened-
overrun. We'd be overrun with bamboo. So, go pandas.
Yeah. No,
There we
let
go.
him, let him mow the lawn.
We did
Come
just
on.
see a video of one eating some bamboo. That looked pretty
That's right.
convincing.
To have smoked an herbal anything
Mhm.
in your life, you have probably seen a Planet Earth or 10.
Absolutely.
And I've seen that red fox do some mischievous things.
Is that right?
Out there in very 8K slow mo. I've seen a
Mhm.
red fox do some sweet
Yeah.
shit. I think you got a good animal on your chest right now.
Okay, good to know.
Not as good as the macaques. You know, the
No.
macaques, the monkeys, they got a hierarchy and a
problem.
political system.
Mhm.
They are certainly ones to take off to another altitude and learn about and experience. But the red fox certainly fine as well.
Is that macaque who took over with her mother? Or are they still ruling the macaque kingdom? Do we know?
I would assume the macaque is still. That might be a red panda too.
Oh, it might be a red panda.
Yeah.
No,
I
believe
I
it is
think-
a red panda.
Yeah.
Is it a red panda?
That's what I was thinking it
They're one and
was.
the
Nah, that looks like a red fox.
That looks like a fox. That
Pat, it
looks like a
depends
fox face.
depends on what version, the David Attenborough version, the English version of Planet Earth,
It's a
or
red
the
fox.
Morgan Freeman version.
It kind of looks like a red
Red
raccoon.
panda.
Boy,
The way it's-
They are sweet though.
Whatever it is, it's sweet. Look at that thing stand up, about to give a little problem to an ant or something. Boom. That rock wants a piece, huh? I don't think so, bitch.
What you
What?
want?
Bitch. That's what I thought.
That thing is sweet. We
Well,
should get one for the office.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
we don't have the
pandas.
red fox or a red panda, but I think we need one of them.
Hopefully it's a red fox because pandas are being attacked right now on the internet. I don't know if you guys have seen that at all, but
Panda.
pandas are being
Pandas do.
basically the word is out that no pandas are real. And I'm not saying I believe in this. Okay, I'm not. D-Butt clearly saw it.
Yeah, wasn't it
D-Butt-
first?
Now get ready
they
for
only-
vet. Second round
Uh-huh.
draft pick for the New England Patriots. Darius J. Butler is here. Don't be buying into this shit.
D-Butt- doing this,
Just
D-Butt.
tell them what we saw.
I
Don't
got- I gotta do
tell
my-
because I can't tell them because they'll think I believe it.
You got to tell them. I didn't.
No,
dig deep.
no.
I didn't do my own research.
This
yet.
is smart of you, D-Butt. By the way,
Yeah.
put this
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
on the tinfoil
Yeah.
cap.
See,
on the other
okay,
side.
fine. I'll say it. A lot of people just think that pandas aren't real, and that every single panda is a plant, in that they really don't exist.
From
By the CC.
pandas from.
Yeah, look, I don't know about the CCP and what they're involved in here.
Well,
okay?
I had learned that earlier this year. Remember, all the pandas were getting shipped out of the United States of America back to
That's
China
right.
because we
Yep.
couldn't make an agreement on rental of their pandas
Mhm.
in our zoos. I do believe there is a panda coming into town, but if this isn't that's an animal.
Yeah.
What do you mean? That's people's daily, obviously. Those are real animals.
Hey, look, this is not a bird situation where
I
I
love those
actually
kebabs.
believe in the birds not being real. Like, this is a situation where I saw it. I said, there's no way pandas aren't real. I need to believe in pandas for the rest of my life.
Imagine if those pandas just got up, hopped in that car in the back, drove the thing around town.
I think they do.
That's
I
what
think
they're
they do.
saying they're doing. I can't believe this came up. I really can't, but the red panda, it just happened to flow into it.
So we are sold that he's a red panda, not a red fox.
Oh,
I believe so.
I have
Okay,
no
all right.
idea.
Well, shout out to the red panda. Red panda real panda not. Is that what everybody's saying?
That's just the word. On the
D-Butts,
internet.
I
don't
cannot
know.
believe
I
you're
don't
even
know.
a
Yeah.
part of
I
this.
don't know.
See, I knew that he saw it.
That's a red.
All right, that's good.
That's the word in the zoo.
The word
All right.
around the zoo is pandas or plants.
I got it
Yes,
figured
yeah.
all out. China
Yeah.
reclaimed their pandas, and now everyone in the U.S. is just faking the pandas because they don't want to lose the revenue.
Oh, okay. So the American
maybe
zoo
the
pandas are
ROI
furries.
Well, maybe they've been furries all along. Maybe the pandas are the original furries.
Who'd have thunk that there would be job opportunities for furries? Wow, that's
Oh,
awesome.
yeah.
Thanks, Biden.
Huh.
Job creation.
Dystopia rises. Yep. The cheetahs aren't real.
You
The
monoculture
giraffes.
everything, and then you got to pretend to be other things.
Giraffes are a psyop for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, imagine what the fuck's up with a giraffe? How does that come
Yeah,
to
what the
be?
fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? Giraffes
nothing
probably no, it's giraffes are a psyop.
Trees. Well, trees are fake too. Yeah, they're
Trees
obviously
are
not a solid.
all trees are just government cameras. So don't go in the forest.
They're 10G towers.
Don't touch grass.
Actually, what they are is wells.
Eats of bugs.
And firewood.
Yeah. Oh, they are. No, you're being literal.
Even the
Amen.
bugs are fake.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
and oxygen.
Nope. Tap a tree, make some syrup, plant a garden, raise some bees.
Hug a tree.
Hug a tree, make a friend with a goddamn lizard.
I miss Stumpy.
Stumpy. Shout out to Stump.
Enjoy the shade of a tree that someone before you planted.
Amen.
Oh,
and
yeah.
maybe try to plant one yourself.
Definitely for the next generation or two.
Well, I'm tapped. What do you say? Any thoughts before we close her out?
No, I'm just about empty.
Yeah, I'm good.
Well,
And
as
that neighbour's
usual.
just started his really, really annoying mower. So it's time to log off.
Yeah. He's mowing his grass. It's disturbing the peace. Well, as usual, it's morning in Australia and it's nighttime here.
Yeah.
And I am Mike the Polymath, Easy Peasy Podcast, and I'll pass it to before I go to easypeasy.ittybitty.tips.
It's going along the bottom there.
Yep. Buy my book. Be a cool motherfucker. It's not bad. You know, that's all I'll say. And Stella Q, what's up with you?
Yeah, you could go and check out on my channel, Stella Q. There's a new thing about weather and stuff that is kind of interesting, which is there's going to be more episodes coming soon. So that's sort of where I'm at the moment. It's a thing called Weather or Not. Shout out to Jeff. And Climate Viewer folks. Jim, everyone. Bear Snare. It's been really good to see you guys again. And Ando, missed you, Ashley.
LibertyLinks.io/The Doom Kitchen for Ando, and thebearsnare.com. My Friends Hate Freedom podcast. Thanks, guys. This has been fun.
Always.
Love you, guts.
Always a good time. Love you, guts. Yep. Shout out to all of our good friends in the WTF world. To all our listeners, we appreciate you. And we'll talk to you next week. Probably. You never know what's going to happen in this weird world. What the fuck?
Could get taken by a bear.
Look out for bears. Don't go into the wilderness without a man.
You should see the bears around here. It's just not worth it.